And we are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome to the show, Wizard, Warrior, Wanderer, Wayfarer, and Wildcat alike, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission. I hope you're doing well. I'm broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the Celestial Dragon, Twilight Zone, Old Peking, far behind the bamboo firewall, in the center of the Old Orient, capital of ancient Tartaria. Make sure you check me out at www.buymeacoffee.com/Frank Money. Pull something in the tip jar. Come on, get over there. Hit the button. Hit the like button. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Leave a comment on the video. All that fun stuff that makes YouTube work the right way. Otherwise, we're just masturbating online, right? We don't need to do that. Let's get into some good magic today, guys. In order to preface the show, I'm going to let the Israel Regardi reading of the Invocation of Thoth play. I think it's about 5 minutes long. And prior to that, I'm going to do the Adoration of Abraxas. Yeah, I think I got that one queued up. I'll remind you that I am your Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, Frank Monday. This is the tail end of the Way of the Psionic Agent. Again, please hit the likes for the boob tubes. I appreciate that. And check me out at buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday. Additionally, help me reach 1,000 subs, guys. Let's get it done. We're almost there. About 150 away. Got 850 or something like that now. And I just need to get 1,000, man. I can unlock some of those premium features here on YouTube. And if it ever works out that YouTube, it makes more than $30 or $40 a month, then I'll pay for the full access to the StreamYard account, right? Because I'm certainly not going to go out of pocket too much for this. This is just for fun. This is for entertainment purposes only. So strap in. Let's get ready. Take a deep breath, if you would. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Command yourself to relax. Let go of vexation, annoyance, irritation, any kind of frustration, any type of sadness, everything of a negative nature. Just gas it off the body, right, with each exhale. Natural rhythmic breathing to your Dantian, whichever one you want to utilize, right? Lower Dantian, pull that air all the way in. Deep diaphragmatic breaths. One more. Get another one. Choose a nice fixation point on the wall in front of you and inhale. Focus on that eye fixation point. Close your eyes and command yourself to relax. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness, he who was, is, and shall be. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere, and a cleansing wind to disperse all negativity and endless human opinion. Teach us those things, those secret things which we must know for the completion of the great work and the glory of thine ineffable name, Adonai. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power, silence is strength. Will regaineth omnipotence, love will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation. Because love is the law, love under will. Do what thou will should be the whole law. Guys, hit the like button when you wander in and out. That really helps out the videos, try to get better circulation. I noticed a couple folks wandered in and out. Nobody's hit the like button yet, so make sure you remember to do that. Thank you in advance. I appreciate that. With no further ado, Israel Regardi and the Invocation of Thoth.
invocation of Thoth. Procul, o procul esti profani, or lasti ompeda. In the name of the mighty and terrible one, I proclaim that I have banished the shells unto their habitations. I invoke Tahuti, the Lord of wisdom and of utterance, the God that cometh forth from the veil. O thou majesty of the Godhead, wisdom-crowned Tahuti, Lord of the gates of the universe, thee I invoke. O thou of the ibis head, thee who wieldest the wand of double power, thee I invoke. Thou who bearest in thy left hand the rose and cross of light and life, thee I invoke. Thou whose head is as an emerald, and thy nemes as the night sky blue, thee I invoke. Thou whose skin is of flaming orange as though it burned in a furnace, thee I invoke. Behold, I am yesterday, today, and the brother of tomorrow. I am born again and again. Mine is the unseen force whereof the gods are sprung, which is as life unto the dwellers in the watchtowers of the universe. I am the charioteer of the east, lord of the past and of the future. I see by mine own inward light, Lord of resurrection, who cometh forth from the dust, and my birth is from the house of death. O ye two divine hawks upon your pinnacles, who keep watch over the universe, ye who company the bier to the house of rest, who pilot the ship of wrong, ever advancing onwards the heights of heaven, Lord of the shrine which standeth in the center of the earth. Behold, he is in me, and I in him. Mine is the radiance wherein Ptah floateth over the firmament. I travel upon high. I tread upon the firmament of new. I raise up flashing flame with the lightning of mine eye, ever rushing on in the splendor of the daily glorified Ra, giving my life to the dwellers of earth. If I say, come up upon the mountains, the celestial waters shall flow at my word. For I am Ra incarnate, Keth-Ra, created in the flesh. I am the eidolon of my father Tamu, Lord of the city of the sun. The God who commands is in my mouth. The God of wisdom is in my heart. My tongue is the sanctuary of truth, and a God sitteth upon my lips. My word is accomplished every day, and the desire of my heart realizes itself as that of Ptah when he createth his works. I am eternal, therefore all things are as my designs, therefore do all things obey my word. Therefore do thou come forth unto me from thine abode in the silence, unutterable wisdom, or light, or power. So, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, by whatever name I call thee, thou art still nameless to eternity. Come thou forth, I say, and aid and guard me in this work of art. Thou, star of the east, that didst conduct the Magi, thou art the same all present in heaven and in hell. Thou that vibratest between the light and the darkness, rising, descending, changing ever, yet ever the same. The sun is thy father, thy mother the moon. The wind hath borne thee in its bosom, and earth hath ever nourished the changeless Godhead of thy youth. Come thou forth, I say, come thou forth, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land and in the water, of roaring air and of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God the Vast One may be obedient unto me.
All right, good magic. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is Israel Regardi doing the invocation of Thoth. All right, if you know it, you know it. Proco o proco, este profani, ballisti ompala. In the name of the mighty and terrible one, I proclaim that I have banished the shells unto their habitations. I invoke Tahuti, the Lord of wisdom and of utterance, and the God that cometh forth from the veil. O thou majesty of the Godhead, wisdom-crowned Tahuti, Lord of the gates of the universe, thee I invoke. O thou of the ibis head, thee I invoke. Thou who wieldest the wand of double power, thee I invoke. Thou who bearest in thy left hand the rose and cross of light and life, thee I invoke. Thou whose head is as an emerald, and thy nemesis as the night blue sky, thee I invoke. Thou whose skin is a flaming orange, as though it burned in a furnace, thee I invoke. Behold, I am yesterday, today, and the brother of tomorrow. I am born again and again. Mine is the unseen force whereof the gods are sprung, which is as life unto the dwellers in the watchtowers of the universe. I am the charioteer of the east, Lord of the past and the future. I see my own inward light, Lord of resurrection, who cometh forth from the dust, and my birth is from the house of death. O ye two divine hawks upon your pinnacles, who keep watch over the universe, ye who company the bear to the house of rest, who pilot the ship of Ra, ever advancing onwards the heights of heaven, Lord of the shrine which standeth in the center of the earth, behold, he is me, and I am him. Mine is the radiance wherein Ptah floateth over the firmament. I travel upon high. I tread upon the firmament of new. I raise a flashing flame with the lightning of mine eye, ever rushing on in the splendor of the daily glorified Ra, giving my life to the dwellers of earth. If I say, come up upon the mountain, the celestial waters shall flow at my command, for I am Ra incarnate, Kephara, created in flesh. I am the idol of my father Tamu, Lord of the city of the sun. The God who commands is in my mouth. The God of wisdom is in my heart. My tongue is the sanctuary of truth, and a God sitteth upon my lips. My word is accomplished every day, and the desire of my heart realizes itself of that Aspatah when he created his works. I am eternal, therefore all things are as my designs. Therefore do thou come forth unto me from thine abode in the silence, unutterable wisdom, all light and all power, Thoth, Hermes, Mercury, Odin, Lu Dombing. By whatever name I call thee, art still nameless to eternity. Come forth, thou, I say, and aid and guard me in this work of art. Thou star of the east that didst conduct the Magi. Thou art the same all present in heaven and in hell. Thou that vibratest between the light and the darkness, rising, descending, ever changing, yet ever the same. The sun is thy father, the moon, the mother, thy mother, the moon. The wind hath borne thee in its bosom, and earth hath ever nourished the changeless Godhead of thy youth. Come thou forth, I say, come thou forth, and make every spirit of the firmament, and of the ether, and upon the earth, and under the earth, on dry land, and in the water, of whirling air, and a rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God, the vast one, may be obedient unto me. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. All right, good magic, man. Had to get through that on my own one time. You can't just let Israel Regard, be the only one that gets the benefit of that wonderful invocation of Thoth. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Make sure you don't forget to get over there on the old Buy Me a Coffee and put a little something in the tip jar. Frank Money, keep doing good work for you guys, man. You're going to do a little good work for him, too. I appreciate that. That's good magic. We're going to look at a video about Israel Regard to start off the show tonight. If anybody wants to tune in, just put it in the comment box. Let me know, and I'll drop the link. Otherwise, I don't want to just leave it out there for all the vagabonds and internet tourists that wander in and out of here and talk a bunch of shit. And they're like, hey, fuck you, Frank Monday. I don't want to hear none of that happy horse shit. Just people that are interested in tuning into the show and fellowshipping with a spirit of friendship and sincerity. Everyone else, there's the fucking door. Don't let it hit you on your ass on the way out. Get the fuck out of here if you don't like it, all right? If you do like it, then hang around and let's get into some magic, man. We're gonna watch a little video here by Dr. Angela Puka.
With a particular
She's a
focus
cutie,
on
man. I
the
like her.
seminal contributions
Let's see what
of
she's got to
Israel
say.
Regardie.
Yeah, she's gonna tell us about Israel Regardie. 1907 and 1985. Man, this guy lived in my neighborhood. He lived in Long Beach, California. Let's see, is that the best one? Let's see if that's any better. I think that's a little better, huh? Yeah, it looks good. It's perfect.
In today's episode, we delve into the intricate interplay between Western esoteric traditions and psychology.
Yeah, isn't she a cutie? So she's saying the Western magical traditions and psychology is what they're going to combine, is what she's going to combine in this talk. It's not a long one. I think it's about 10 or so minutes long, so it shouldn't take us long to get through it. Of course, we're going to do the commentary. Israel Regardie was a secretary to Aleister Crowley. That's where he gets some of his infamy, but he's actually early initiate of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and he's the first one that brought forward like the teachings of the Golden Dawn in their completed form in his book, The Complete Golden Dawn, or Ceremonial Magic of Golden Dawn. So let's go ahead and get into it and check it out a little bit.
With a particular focus on the seminal contributions of Israel Regardie. Regardie's work, characterized by a unique fusion of esoteric and psychological concepts, has significantly influenced the field of Western esotericism.
You have to keep in mind, too, that his addition of codifying things in a more psychological nature came later on in his career, when he was working as a psychologist and hypnotherapist. And I actually had hypnotherapy with one of his students. So he was teaching and training people to do magical hypnotherapy. And I was like, I don't know, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that. Those are the years, maybe 9 through 12. For about 3 years, I had the opportunity to get hypnotherapy from one of his direct students. So she was practicing his methods and techniques on me as a little boy, man. Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing, kind of an interesting magical aspect of my story.
Our primary aim is to explore the concept of psychologization in esoteric studies, particularly how Regardie's work exemplifies this phenomenon.
And I would say that, this is a very important aspect, a very important contribution that Regardie uniquely made to the transmission of the Western mystery tradition in making magic more of a psychological, giving it more of a psychological couching in the language of psychology. However, at the same time, I would disagree that it's exclusively that, because it absolutely seems that there are things acting and working beyond that. I mean, and obviously we have the entire natural world surrounding us with vortices of energy and generative influences. So that's where those things arise when we do our magic, right? So it's not just entirely a mind game. And his work doesn't go in that direction, but some people would speculate in that direction.
Before we dive in, I'd love to remind you to sign up for my newsletter.
Oh yeah,
Don't
do
rely
that.
on the capricious algorithm and social
She might
media
have something fun
platforms
to send you.
that could shut down whenever they decide.
She
By
responds to
signing up for my
compliment, too.
newsletter, You will be
Compliments
always up to date with
on
my
her
work
videos.
and
I've
will
told
get
her how pretty I
access to
think she
exclusive
is, and
content,
she said thank
pictures,
you.
insights, and academic research.
So that's nice.
You will
That's
find the
rare.
link in bio, the cards, the info box,
Most people
and
don't
the pinned
respond to their
comment.
comment
You will
section.
also find all the ways to support Angela's Symposium, as this project is brought to you by you. Check out all the
Yeah, I
services
really
I
like Angela a
offer
lot.
on
You gotta offer her some support.
drangelapuka.com
Don't
and
forget to go over to
join my Inner
buymeacoffee.com too.
Symposium on
A little something,
Patreon,
something for
Coffee,
Frank Monday,
or YouTube
a
memberships.
Hamilton
And
maybe,
thank you to
a
the generous
Jackson.
souls who make this knowledge
Everybody loves a
available
Benjamin,
to
right?
all. Now, let the symposium begin.
Everybody. Oh gosh, it's hard with that rock music, huh? Wow, sorry about that,
Hello,
guys.
Symposiast. I'm Dr. Angela
Hello.
Puka, Religious Studies PhD, and this is your online resource for the academic study of magic, esotericism, paganism, shamanism, and all things occult. Israel Regardie stands as a pivotal figure in the context of psychologization within Western esotericism.
And yeah, it's important to keep in mind that that was a later advent. That in his early works, there wasn't as much of a psychological couching in the language or a connection between it. So I would think that this aspect of his work, let's see, he only lived to 78 or 68, 78. So he lived to 78 years. He was right around the time of my father. My dad was born in 1923. So he a little bit older than my pops, right? But right, that same school, the Greatest Generation, right? Born and raised during World War One, and probably had to fight in World War II. Not sure if he did any military service. Seems like he did a little bit of army. I don't know. You could probably pull up his bio on Wikipedia. It would probably help supplement this talk. I might do that as well. No, I don't have my VPN turned on. I can't stream over StreamYard with my VPN turned on, and I can't look at YouTube or any kind of searches with my VPN turned off. So, bit of a conundrum there, though. It is what it is, you know. From behind the bamboo firewall, if you guys remember, I am broadcasting to you from the central kingdom of the celestial dragon, Twilight Zone, Old Peking, far behind the bamboo firewall. I remind you, neophyte, that goodness alone is power, silence is strength, will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you're receiving this transmission, welcome. Please hit the thumbs up and leave a comment on the video, man. It's always fun.
However, the prevalent interpretation of his work, primarily through the lens of psychologization, may oversimplify his broader impact and intentions. To address these, we will examine a multifaceted typology of psychologization, encompassing complementary, terminological, reductive, and idealist modes. This approach allows us to view Regardie's ideas as a complex network of interrelated processes. To address these, we will examine a multifaceted typology.
Okay, I want to have a closer look at that. What does that say there? It doesn't let me view it entirely on my screen. Complementary, terminological, reductive, and idealistic. Okay, very good. Good magic. Psychologicizing modes in magic.
Of psychologization, encompassing complementary, terminological, reductive, and idealist modes. This approach allows us to view Regardie's ideas as a complex network of interrelated processes, offering a fresh perspective on the interplay between psychological and esoteric discourses in his work.
All right, so if you're just tuning in, you may be wondering and asking yourself, hey, Frank Monday, why should we begin an episode on the Wizard King Solomon and his magic with a discussion of Israel Regardie to start off? And the reason being is because a lot of this transmission of this tradition comes to us through these early 20th century guys that were involved in the collection of the documents and the translating, transliteration, compiling, and rebuilding the practice of ceremonial magic in this tradition. And so he's one of the key guys for my studies, that is of deep interest to me. So yeah, I thought it was fun. I watched this video a few months ago. I think it's been up on the internet for a year or so. So we're not stepping on anybody's toes by showing it. Hey, we got a visitor out in Happy Land, King James Version. Good to see you, KGV. London McLovin. Good looking out, brother. Hope you're doing well this morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are, and whenever you receive this. Okay, having dinner must be evening. Good stuff. Yeah, tuning in, man. We're getting a little of our studies on Israel Regardie in. You guys know that he's one of my favorites. You might not know, and if you don't, then my foundation of my practice of magic is in Golden Dawn material with some inquiries into Thelema and the OTO, but I never really focused much on that because I thought that it was more a perversion of the traditional values that were in the Golden Dawn and the Brotherhood of Luxor. So if you don't know, look up Pascal Beverly Randolph's The Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor. That's kind of the foundation of where this material comes from, with magical liquids, electro-liquid states in the body, and then tapping into those and refining those through internal alchemy and through outward ceremonial expression of it, right, through your inner transformation. And then Chinese Qigong, of course, and Kung Fu and Chinese traditional medicine and various forms of tonics and elixirs. And then, and then it's morphed from there. I learned about chaos magic just a few years ago and realized that that's what I had been practicing the whole time, more a form of God-sanctioned natural magic than anything else. So yeah, it's good stuff, and I like to call it good magic. So let's get into it.
In this episode, I offer a brief introduction, setting the stage for a more detailed exploration in our upcoming Magus lecture. This in-depth session will be...
Yeah, I might have missed those Magus lectures. I don't think it was on Patreon and Ko-fi for Magus or higher supporters. Okay, yeah, so that's behind the firewall, right? This is just a brief introduction to kind of whet your whistle and get you ready for a paid lecture, which is great. Yeah, I'm glad she's doing that. At least, she's got her services open. So this is kind of a long infomercial, I guess. But it's just basically probably, a look into what information is available about Israel Regardie online. Let's find out a little more.
Part of our monthly lecture series, accessible to my Magus and higher tier patrons. Don't worry if you can't attend live. All Magus and higher patrons will have access to the recording along with a rich archive of over 55 past lectures. So wait no longer and click on my Patreon link to join my inner symposium, my bright esoteric community. In this episode, we will dissect how these four modes of psychologization manifest in Regardie's extensive body of work, revealing that his approach to psychologizing esoteric discourse is nuanced and multifaceted. This exploration underscores the importance of understanding psychologization in a differentially nuanced manner, accounting for the distinct discursive strategies Regardie employed. Francis Israel Regardie, a key figure in the esoteric movement initiated by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, is renowned for his exploration of the connection between esoteric and psychological discourses.
Yeah, he made a lot of these connections. One good place to start with Regardie's material is his book, The Garden of Pomegranates, and a series of essays he did on the meaning of magic. And in those documents, he makes a really thorough connection. I might even have one in front of me right now that I've been studying recently. No, it's on my other clipboard. I think I left it at work at the office. But yeah, he makes a very deep and penetrating exploration into how can these things in magic occur, right? You do a ceremony, you set up a magical circle with names of angelic forces and God to protect you, and then you have a triangle of art. Maybe use a dark mirror if you're scrying in the dark mirror, or use some other portal of manifestation for your triangle of art. And of course, in some of the older triangles of art, they just use the name of Solomon 3 times around the triangle, right? Some used abracadabra, some used the tetragrammaton. There are various ones, and you would want to make yours custom fit to your own magical tradition and purpose. Like I was working with a guy from Sweden, a Norwegian guy, on his initiation into the Golden Dawn, and we were doing the first neophyte degree. And I told him, I said, you can replace a lot of these god names with your own native, like Odin or whoever the Norse gods are. And I said, in fact, if those gods are more familiar to you and are, of your tradition, then you would want to integrate those into your banishing ritual or any type of circle casting ritual, and put one of the each forms at the four quarters of the rose compass, and then that would set up something more personalized for you, because magic is a personalized thing, right? All of the written documentation, manuscripts and stuff is record keeping of practicing magicians. It's not that these magicians, this material, they oftentimes learned it through dreams and through deep meditation and scryed in the spirit vision and communicate with angelic beings that are closest to the human realm, right? So they built up the power and virtue in order to be able to communicate with non-human intelligences from the celestial kingdom. And some of them did it likewise with the infernal kingdom, right? Like King Solomon, the Wizard King, was well known for trapping the demons in the brass vessel, which creates the whole, kind of legend of Aladdin's lamp, right? You have this brass vessel that when you open it, a spirit comes out, and then you can get wishes from that spirit. Obviously, that's a children's tale, or it's broken down to a level where it's in pop culture now. But this is actually a more in-depth process that you keep your layman's. So you make a magical talisman for each of the spirits that you're working with, and all 72 of them, essentially, right? And then you keep that in a brass. You keep those in a brass vessel, and that's kind of where the idea comes from. But it is in fact a genuine antiquitech, from ancient times that it penetrates into the modern day. Yeah, absolutely. I dropped the link for you, KGB. Give me a minute.
His 6-decade involvement in Western esotericism was marked by a consistent effort to clarify the intersection of esoteric theories and practices within contemporary psychological models and psychotherapeutic techniques. Regardy's ideas align with the concept of psychologization, as described by scholars like Wouter Hanegraaff, Marco
All right, let me see what she's got going on here. Let me try to read this a little bit. She's given us a little citation. We've got Arguing with Angels, Enochian Magic and Modern Occulture, from where? Albany State. And then we've got How Magic Survived the Disenchantment of the World, and doesn't give a reference for where that comes from. Western Esotericism, A Guide for the Perplexed. And then I think we have a Latin source here. La notion de magie dans le courant occultiste en Angleterre. The notion of magic and its currents of occultism and its currents of occultism in the Western world, I believe. I don't know. My Latin translation isn't very good. Hey, we got a visitor to the show, guys. Welcome to the stage, KJV. He's London McLovin. He does good work over at his channel. Make sure you check it out. I'll put that link in the box. Let's get him up here. London, how the hell are you, man? What's going on?
Hey, Frank Monday. What's happening, my man? I'm good, man. I'm just having a bit of dinner as we speak now, actually. So excuse the ching chang chung of the forks and knives, if you know.
Yeah, not to worry. Do your thing, man. It's good magic. I appreciate it. What are you having? Anything interesting?
I'm having a spinach and potato curry with some vegetable spring rolls and a thing called passata. It's like a pastry type of bread, but it's like an Indian cuisine.
Okay, good. That sounds delightful. Did I spell your channel name right again? Let's see, London McLovin. There it is there.
Whoa, do you know what? Actually, hold on, because the other day when I was on, when I actually went down and have a look at it,
okay, yeah,
it wasn't showing the correct one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in the back chat for you.
Okay.
And then if you want, you can share it that way if you like.
Yeah, I'll do that. I don't
Cool.
want to miss. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ, I'm not connected to the. I don't have my VPN turned on, so when I'm streaming on StreamYard, I have to turn my
Yeah.
VPN off, and then when I'm trying to search YouTube, I have to turn my VPN on. So that's just what it is. Working from behind the bamboo firewall. How's everything in jolly old? How's everything in
Having
jolly
fun.
old England today?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I had a nice day at work. It was pretty productive, but at the same time, it went very quick, man. So that was good. The weather wasn't the greatest. Sometimes it was a bit sunny, then spells of a quick spittle. But other than that, it weren't too bad. I had a nice day. I was home pretty early, so I can't complain. Now I'm eating.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, we're watching a little video on Angela. I forget her name. Angela Puca. Yeah, that's her name. Puca. I believe she's Italian or maybe Spanish, and she's a religious PhD that has a channel here on YouTube, and she does researches into specifically religion, the arcane, and the occult. So she's also very interested in magical practices of the ancient world, and so in this video, she's just giving us a brief bio on Israel regarding one of my favorite writers from the Golden Dawn. So we'll check a little more of this.
And Igil Asprem. This trend, identified in modern internal discourses on magic, involves integrating esoteric ideas with psychological paradigms. However, the characterization of Regardy's work as predominantly psychologized warrants a more comprehensive analysis. In examining Regardy's dual career as a magic practitioner and a psychotherapist, we introduced a nuanced model of psychologization, which includes complementary terminological, reductive, and idealist modes.
Yeah, so it's an interesting aspect of Regardy's work that he kind of took the ideas of like Freudian and Carl Jung mostly, and his ideas, and then integrated those into what was happening in. He really took a deep, long look at the examination of like the magician's will and the wizard's intent. Like when you're doing ceremonial magic, like what psychological factors are at play in making it work, because the reason he did this is because he found that it most of the time it did work, and so he wanted to figure out exactly how this would be approached from like a modern scientific rationalist view of what's actually going on, rather than just attributing it to supernatural forces or something of this nature. Yeah, I think I looked up your channel yesterday after the show, and I do believe that at London Man with the underscore between London and Man, I think that works. I might not be, I might not be 100% correct, but I see you have this link here too. Yeah, it's at London Man. I believe that would just be it. YouTube at London Man.
Yeah, I think I did put it in the back chat for you. Yeah, I think that's the right one. I think that's the correct one you got down there.
Yeah, I got it. And the simpler way to type it in, I think you type it in this way, it's fine. YouTube at London Man. Yeah, and that'll do it.
That's it. Cheers,
Yeah,
bro.
there you go, guys. And definitely check out London Man, guys. Whoever's tuning in today, or if you're watching this video later, he did some really good work on bringing forth the light on some of the members of Team Evil. Their de facto, their de facto leader, Queen Stephanie, and fun stuff. We got Dark Goddess in the chat as well. Welcome, Dark Goddess. Good to see you. She says Solomon wasn't a Caucasian. Yeah, I never thought he was. I would imagine that he was mostly probably of Arabic descent. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And then his children would be half Egyptian and half Arabic, because he married an Egyptian princess, right?
Okay. I wasn't aware of that, but there was something you said yesterday that I haven't really seen no one point it out. When you said,
what's that?
You said most people will look at Solomon as the soul of man, right? But you actually said something that caught my attention. You said sun and moon. I haven't heard no one say it like that before, even though it may be out there. I don't know whether that's original or that's what you come up with. But I like that one.
Yeah, I saw some old like pictures and paintings of him, and they have him in like a Masonic type environment. Like they present the temple as kind of a Masonic thing with the pillars of Boaz and walk in, and
Hmm.
those are sun and moon. And then I believe later I had seen someone else make the association that Sol, right, is the older style of writing sun, and then
Hmm.
Moon could be moon. Yeah, so they said essentially he's the master of the sun and the moon, right? And then, but in my mind, this connected me back to a lot of older Chinese internal alchemy things where they always said that a magician or a wizard or a self-enlightened man will keep the sun and the moon inside of him. And I thought there was maybe some connection there that, having doing internal alchemy of like yin and yang principles within the body, right? Like the fiery sun energy and then the cooling lunar energy. That there's something to this. Yeah. Did it make you think of something else as well? Like,
Yeah, it just made me think of us on a micro level, in between the um the celestial poles, basically the sun and the moon, just like the the construct, the on the older construct, on the three Masonic constructs, they show you how the moon is underneath, and also the moon projects the sun and the moon itself, right?
is that
Not
right? Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not the sun projecting, but the moon projecting.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know a ton about that. I haven't done a lot of researches into it, but I have looked at a lot of their what they call their sketching plates or drawing plates. Like when they do their initiations for the first 3 degrees of masonry, they
Hmm.
use these murals, and like I think the first one it has the twin pillars, then it has like the ladder, Jacob's ladder of ascent into heaven, and then yeah, of course it has the sun above the left pillar and the moon above the right pillar, and then I believe there's like the compass and square, and there's a few other items on the tracing board, but it's meant that you memorize the position and items on the board like a kind of memory palace activity, and then
Oh,
you have to redraw those tabula rasa, so you're given a blank sheet, and then you have to be able to show that you've remembered where every item is and how to draw it. And so that's some part of the initiation process that I've learned about. And we do
but
something similar in the Golden Dawn. Like you have to have memorized the Tree of Life and be able to recreate it on a blank sheet of paper. You have to remember like the certain attributes of the major arcana and the tarot cards. Like there's 22 major arcana in the tarot, which are like the bigger cards, the grand cards, and each one is then associated with like a Hebrew letter, a planet or a zodiac sign, an element, an angelic name. All of these things you have to memorize those charts for like just the basic initiation levels. And so I worked through a lot of that when I was really younger, like in my teens and 20s.
hmm.
And but then I kind of stepped away from it for a long time when I moved to China, and I was just researching mostly Taoism while I've been here. Yeah, so getting back into it again about 10 years ago, I started getting back into it again. I think it was about 2015.
Mm. How long you been in China, roughly?
I've been here 25 years. I got here in 2001.
Damn!
Oh.
25. That's brilliant. That's dedication right there, man.
Yeah, when I came over, I was almost 30, 29. And
Mm.
they asked me, they said, "How long are you planning on staying?" I said, "I don't know. I've been in the States for 30 years. I might as well stay here for 30 years." and
Yeah.
I just kind of said it as a joke, but I really was thinking about it because in the Taoist tradition, they measure a human's life. They say that we're allocated for a natural lifespan 120 years, and each 30 years is a season. So the spring of your life is like from 0 to 30. 30 to 60 is the summer of your life. 60 to 90 is your autumn, and then your winter, your golden years, are supposed to be from 90 to 120. I know not everyone lives that long, and some may live longer, but that's the general allotment. I think that's biblical too. I think there's a biblical allotment of 120 years.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I do like the thought of that, things living longer than we expect. you know, because I mean, nobody really wants to lose a loved one or a family member, right?
Right. And
So
the
I
longer
just,
you live, the more you lose. So it's kind of a battle, you know. I remember when
mm,
I was really young. I was in my early 20s, and I apprenticed to a Chinese master of traditional Chinese medicine, and I lived with him as like his what's that called? Like acolyte, or just I was basically an assistant. I was doing a lot of secretarial work, and I would do housework and maid work and cook and clean and stuff like this. And he asked me, he said, "How long do you think you could live?" And I contemplated the question. I said, "Well, I'm learning these, you know, these longevity things and studying about food and nutrition and stuff." I said, I could probably do 137. And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, "You could live longer."
yeah,
So he was a funny guy. He was near 100. He was 97 when I was working with him, and I think he lived to about 112. So
oh,
that's yeah, kind of a big deal. He finally returned to China. He lived in the U.S. for about 50 years, but he did return to China not long ago. I think about maybe a decade ago. I think he died here. I don't know. But yeah, he was a good guy. He's the one I got involved with mostly with the
yeah.
Chinese medicine and
Hold,
Qigong and stuff.
mic check,
Yeah, mic check. We all right? I can hear you. Yeah.
mic check, 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 check.
Check,
Okay, I
check.
got you back now. There you are. There you
Okay,
are.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it
You
dips
know what
out.
else came to mind, right? When you were speaking about long lifespans, right? I mean, when I look at some of the creatures on this realm with us, right? They have long lifespans, especially when it comes to the reptiles and the amphibious creatures, right? And
Right.
I feel like is it do you okay, what I'm trying to say is, right, most of these creatures that live their life to the fullest, right, they're always in their natural habitat. When you see like the alligators, the crocodiles, you know, apart from the ones that are in the zoo. Now, what I'm saying,
Right.
what if Earth wasn't our natural habitat? That's why we die sooner, earlier.
Yeah, there's a good possibility of that. I've thought about this a lot too, that the transformation from like only, I would say, less than, 10,000 years ago, maybe 5,000, even less. If anything from the historical record is accurate, we've lost most of the megafauna from our planet. So like all of the huge trees have been cut down. Um, Much of the landscape has been changed by modern man. And there was a huge drive during these industrial revolutions to like destroy and eliminate our natural habitat for the most part. And I think that's probably decreased our ability to live a longer time. Like we don't have as pure of oxygen or water or this kind of thing.
Mm,
Yeah, and they did it intentionally. Like they slaughtered all the buffalo in the Americas. They slaughtered they're trying to, they're slaughtering all the kangaroo in Australia, even today,
yeah.
because there's so many of them. And they kind of destroy, I think, like the natural power of the earth by doing that. I mean, imagine if we were still had many of our old growth forests and vast canopies of
Hmm.
that energy. That I do believe that would definitely, we would be different type of creatures.
Yeah.
This is probably why we see like the dying off or the loss of like the giants, and then of course like all the huge beasts like the mammoth, the saber-toothed tiger. When they cut down all these forests, all the potentiality of those mythical beings just disappears. And maybe there are still lands beyond, what they're maybe calling the ice ring, or maybe there's other ways to access, like, I don't know, through other dimensions or something. Some of this reality may be present. And this is what I've noticed too. People talk about the Mandela effect a lot. But one of the things I find a curiosity is some of these old, like really old architecture that look like Greco-Romanesque architecture, like column and dome buildings.
Hmm.
Sometimes they seem to reappear in different parts of the world. Like there was a building here in Beijing when I first arrived. They were destroying much of the older city, but there were a few of those Romanesque colonial buildings here in Beijing, and they removed them like in full. Like they picked them up and moved them off of the sites they were on. But I've gone out into other older cities and stuff here in China, and there's still a lot of that architecture, and it seems like, I don't know, like it could just manifest from other dimensions and stuff. It's really weird. What kind of link are you giving me here?
It is weird. Oh, that's
Yeah.
my email.
Oh,
That's my
okay. Yeah.
email link. So
Yeah.
just
I'll
in
copy
case
that and
if
save it.
you fancy going live or doing something, linking up, just shoot me a message over there, and I'll respond back to you.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly. Yeah. Let's hear a little more of what she's got to say about
This
Israel
model
regarding.
helps us understand the complex relationship between esoteric and psychological discourses, challenging the general characterization of modern esoteric discourse as merely psychologized. Regardi's journey through esotericism and psychology began with his birth in London to a Russian Orthodox Jewish immigrant family. His early interest in art shifted towards esotericism after encountering the works of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky.
Yeah. So there's Blavatsky making an appearance. She usually does around this time period. What do you know about her, and what do you think about Blavatsky?
Right, check
Do you
back now.
do you know much about her or think much about her?
Who? Sorry, I just put my plate. Excuse me, my plate into the
Yeah, no
kitchen.
worries. Yeah, do your thing, do your thing. Yeah, and on that note of what I was talking about a moment ago, it seems to be that in our realm, there's some sort of pre-existent foundation, like roads and foundations and things beneath the surface that we're not aware of. But like I was saying, like King Solomon, he supposedly used spiritual forces to build the temple. Like he didn't use people. He used, like, supposedly they say demons or even angels maybe. But there, like I was saying, there seems to be some persistency in some of this ancient architecture. Like it may just appear or disappear, and maybe it's not built by man. Maybe there are, like, I believe the Arabians, they called them Jinn or genie, and then in the Chinese system they called them Shen or Shen, and they utilized these forces. Like in ancient Tao, there's a really deep connection, I believe, between the ancient Chinese myths and the ancient Arabian myths as well. But again, I haven't figured it all out yet, but that's what I'm looking into. So yeah, I was just wondering about Blavatsky. Do you know much about her, or what do you think of her? She was like a Russian immigrant. I believe she lived in London as well. I think that's where she did her work. So like 1900s.
She's in London. I wasn't. But sorry, you keep cutting
Yes.
out. Is it me or is it you? Mike?
Yeah, she wrote a couple of works. She wrote, I think her big one is called The Great and Secret Doctrine, or maybe that's Manly P. Hall. Maybe it's The Great and Secret Teaching or something. But she synthesized Hinduism and the Western mystery traditions that were mostly at the time focused on like Greco-Roman mythologies and Egyptian mythologies. If you've studied the Golden Dawn at all, like the first pantheon is entirely Egyptian, and so they have all of the represent like Osiris and Ra and Amun and Kefra and all of those guys. And so they use those as archetypal forces when you're doing ceremonial magic to invoke and empower. Like if at the beginning of the show, I start off with the invocation of Thoth, and so I still utilize the Egyptian pantheon in my studies. But yeah, she added Hindu elements to it, and that's where we get all of this, Indian and yogic language, like talking about prana and dharma and all of these different types of things, which I'm not very familiarized with because I didn't study any Indian traditions. I mostly focused just on Chinese ones. Yeah, but they
God, you cut out.
many of the scholars at the time, they say that she just kind of basically threw everything together in her book, and it doesn't really like add much to any of the traditions. Like it's just kind of she threw the two together, like Hinduism and Western mystery, and tried to explain it as like a synthesis. But I've read it. It's really hard reading, and honestly, to me, it just seems like a waste of time. I mean, if you're going to study this, the path of magic, it doesn't seem like she really added much of value, in my opinion. But she's a big figure in the tradition.
This led him to explore theosophy, yoga, and the Kabbalah. His initiation into the Societas Rosicruciana in America and subsequent association with Aleister Crowley significantly influenced his development. Regardie's work, such as The Tree of Life and A Garden of Pomegranates, reflect.
Yeah, so these two works, I don't know if you've read either one of these, but these are both really good. I think Tree of Life came first, a study in magic, and then Garden of Pomegranates, scrying on the Tree of Life. Garden of Pomegranates, it's more definitive of the two works, and I believe this is where he started to use more psychological aspects in his writings. The Tree of Life, and you can see right there on the cover, I believe that's Thoth right there, the Egyptian god of magic, Tahuti.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, there's some synthesis across. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
sure.
my audio keeps on cutting out.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And is it you're losing like your mic or your audio as well? Like you can't hear what I'm saying or what's.
Both really, both. It cut you out also. So I have to wait.
Okay. Let me double check on the YouTube feedback. Give me a sec. Yeah, because
I'm back sometimes.
Oh, it sounds perfect on the YouTube replay from my end. I think it's on. I think it's on your end.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm in a room at the moment where I'm by myself because the children are in the other room making noise, misses and stuff. So,
okay.
So once they come out of that room, then I can go back to that room where the connection's a bit tough.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, let's watch a little more of this. Yeah, definitely read both of these works if you get the opportunity. Yeah. I think you get the PDFs these days right off the internet, or used to be able to. But yeah, I've got paper copies of both these books.
His deep engagement with esotericism and psychology. His initiation into the Stella Matutina, an Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn offshoot, and his disillusionment with the order's stance on practical magic led to his disclosure of its teachings in his The Golden Dawn Compendium.
Yeah, so this is the big book on the Golden Dawn. This one says it's the 7th edition by Israel Regardie. I've got the original giant hardcover edition of this book that's almost archaic now. Like there weren't that many of them produced, but it's like the size of a giant dictionary. It's a giant hardbound leather copy of like one of the OG ones that they would use in temple work. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy that I was able to preserve that. And I've got a couple of smaller copies of it too. But yeah, if you're downtown London, like right next to the London Museum, like the large museum downtown in London, there is a bookstore called the Atlantean, Atlanean, right? The Atlantean. And that bookstore is where all these Golden Dawn guys originally met up. I'll type it in the private chat for you. Or I could put it in the common chat. Yeah, I see they're taking a smoke break. Good man. Time for a smoko, right? The Atlantean bookstore. Yeah, so I don't know if you've been there or not, but if you're in London, it's a good opportunity to go by there and check it out. It's right next to the museum. I forget exactly which road it's on. But I wandered in there. I didn't even know, but they had all of these magical accoutrements in the window and stuff. And I wandered in there, and it turned out to be like one of the source spots of where all the Golden Dawn members were meeting in London when they formalized their teachings. Like McGregor, like there was a painting of McGregor Mathers in there. William Wayne Westcott, Crowley met up there. Arthur Edward Wyatt, just all these guys, they all gathered there, and there was like a basement where they did ceremonial magic. And so that bookstore is still open, and it's filled with books on magic. So you can get all of Regardie's books and anyone else's, McGregor Mathers, Ars Goetia, the Lemegeton, all different kinds of stuff, which isn't very useful for modern practitioners. I would recommend if someone wanted to get an entry-level book for modern magic, get the book Modern Magic, which is not great either, but at least it's a starting point. And then get something like Franz Barden's Initiation into Hermetics. And I think there are a lot of better books out these days. And so just a cursory search on the term magic with a K would probably lead you to a lot of great source books. But those are the old school style books that I started with. And I haven't done much work into looking at newer books, because once you have a good book or a good system of practice, then you don't need to keep studying and reading new stuff. You just review what you already know, and the essential thing is to practice, right? What's the good in magic to just read about it when you should actually be doing it?
Record's interest in psychoanalysis, influenced by Freud and Jung, became prominent during his time with the Stella Matutina. His formal education at the Columbia Institute of Chiropractic and his service in the U.S. Army during World War II further shaped his approach to psychotherapy, specializing.
Yeah, so he did serve in the military. I thought so. Yeah, he was an Army guy. I think Freud was in the military. Let's see. Freud developed William Reich, a student of Sigmund Freud. Reichian therapy is a form of psychotherapy that emphasizes the role of the body in psychological processes. Reich believed that, I can't even read this because StreamYard blocks it. Anyways, it is what it is, right? Let me see what that does. What is it? Oh, that button removed it. Oh, that's interesting. This video is playing picture in picture. Okay, that's not what I want. Reich believed that blah, blah, blah. This armor, according to Reich, not only manifests in the body, but also shapes the individual's character and emotional responses. Yeah, good stuff.
In Reichian techniques. To understand Regardie's influence on esoteric discourse, we must clarify psychologization. This involves the interaction of psychological and esoteric discourses, often seen as mutually exclusive outside esoteric currents. Regardie's work demonstrates 4 distinct psychologization processes. Let's now explore these concepts with specific examples from Israel Regardie's work. The first one is complementary psychologization. In Regardie's approach...
All right, so she says that we're going to look at 4 of these, and the first one they say is complementary psychologization, psychologization. That's a fucking weird word for me to say, man.
Psychological and esoteric discourses are seen as distinct yet complementary, reflecting Ian Barber's dialogue model. For instance, in his book The Middle Pillar, Regardie emphasizes the importance of psychotherapy as a foundation for esoteric practice.
Yeah, this is a good one too. I've read The Middle Pillar. I did a video for Middle Pillar. In fact, it's my most viewed video on my YouTube channel here on YouTube, Frank Monday. So if you check it out, it's got the basic Middle Pillar meditation where you pull down the energy from the Ein Sof 4 into Atah and then all the way down into Malkuth, right? And you vibrate and focus on those energy points in the body, which are different again from chakra points and different again from the Dantian points in Chinese system of internal alchemy. But I think that there's a more direct correlation between the Chinese Dantians and the Western mystery energy points in the body. So I think it's worth looking into, because I think that most of this has an origin in China, in ancient China. And and then Western is adapting it from Middle Eastern sources, right? So we see this transmission from the Central Kingdom out into the rest of the world, whereas the Central Kingdom was established as a civilization 5,000 years probably prior to any other civilization. And it's the only existent contiguous civilization that's been uninterrupted in its transmission of ideas. Whereas like in the Western cultures, we have Sumerian and Egyptian and others Babylonian, but they're all interrupted. They were lost and buried and covered up, and then had to be revived. And of course, with the Jewish tradition as well, their language was even officially dead for a while before it was revived.
I'm back. Mic check.
Are you back? Good. Yeah, your mic's doing good now.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Middle
KJB,
pillar.
what kind of things do you get up to? Do you do some spiritual practices? Are you interested in these areas of study?
Not as much as I probably should be into it. The only reason why I don't really get into it as much is because I'm more of the physical at the moment. Right? I'm
Okay,
more
yeah,
of the
that's good.
physical. Yeah, I mean,
So
maybe
you like
on
to
my
work
next
out in the
go
gym?
around.
You work out in the gym, or what do you mean by physical? Like,
No, not so much gym. I mean, like, you see, when some people are trying to connect the dots, they connect the spiritual side to it. But I'm yet to connect the spiritual side to teachings. Everything's more physical because
okay,
the human body is physical and the physical. But I more explain things from a physical aspect. I'm yet to know the spirit realm, so I rarely touch on it.
okay, yeah. Well, it's a very rarefied phenomena. I've been studying spiritual tradition since I was a kid, and I like kung fu, and I do work out a bit, and I do some sport. I do skateboarding, and I do martial arts. But yeah, you have to have a strong physical foundation in order to even be able to appreciate and enjoy, I think, spirit things of a spiritual, revelatory nature. Yeah, and so you're younger too, right? Are you mid 30s or?
Just turned 40, well, 41 now.
Oh, okay, yeah, because your voice sounds pretty young.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're about yeah, what is that? About 15 years younger than me. So I think that it starts to flower later in life too. Like as hard as I worked as a young man, like on meditation and trying to make spiritual breakthroughs, they really didn't start to happen naturally until I got older. And I think around 40 is really when the shift occurred. And I had more
Mm.
like revelations, and I actually had paranormal encounters, quite a few. But yeah, that might be something you look out for in the future. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do feel like I've shifted a bit more towards the spiritual aspect from a few years ago. Not to say I understand it, but how can I put it? I know it's there, but I just don't understand it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not an easy thing to understand, I would imagine, but it's not overly challenging either. I mean, if we think about some of the general concepts, just I think being a good person is enough. Like you don't really have to do anything. Do you consider yourself religious at all? Are you into any of the various religions or ascribe to them?
No, I don't. I mean, when I was growing up, my parents forced me to go to church and things of that nature. But as I
Okay.
got older, didn't have to do it anymore.
Right. Well, would
Mm,
you consider yourself like agnostic or atheist? Do you, like agnostic as you don't know if there is or is not these types of spiritual, forces, and then atheist, of course, would mean you don't believe that there's anything outside of the physical realm.
no, for me to say I don't think there is anything outside of the physical realm, yeah, I think that's a bit narrow-minded in my aspect. So I would say as agnostic.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I would think too, like there was a time in my life when I kind of verged towards atheism because I hadn't had any kind of revelations, and I'd worked so hard at trying to achieve that. But I had some early experiences when I was like really young with like reading magical grimoires. My mother was a manager at a bookstore, and so I suddenly had access to an entire bookstore full of books after school every day. And I would go down there, and I
Mm.
spent a ton of time in like the occult section and looking through all of these books. And I basically I acquired quite a library of my own. And
Hmm.
I was reading through some ceremonial magic by Arthur Edward Wyatt, in fact, and I had a revelation. I was really young, maybe 15 years old at the time, and I had a revelation. I thought if magic is real, and I think that it is real, right? As much as I'd studied about it, I thought all of these things they make you do in this ritual in order to achieve your magical result. I thought none of that seems like it would actually be necessary, and all you would need is the intention for it to occur. And if you focused on this pure intent of the magical ritual coming to fruition, then it would happen. And so I studied this one particular ritual and I memorized it. And then I went into meditation and I played the entire thing out in my mind. Like it required some crazy stuff. Like you had to get a willow branch, off of a tree that you cut with a single cut. And there were other elements, you had to burn oleobanum in like a ritual censer, and you had to make your magical circle out of salt and this kind of thing. And I thought, nah, man, that seems like a lot of fucking work. I'm just going to sit down and visualize. Yeah, I'm just going to visualize internally that I did all of that. And it worked, man. I fell into like what they call the sleep of Sialam. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's basically like it's basically where you fall into like a really long period of sleep where you have deep, very lucid dreams. And so I fell into like the sleep of Sialam and I slept for like over a day. And I had all these wonderful dreams, like visiting celestial palaces and meeting with like grand wizards of the Orient and stuff. And then when I woke up, there was this like magical aura of golden light shining in through my window. And something internally told me, follow the light and you will find what you had desired in your ritual, right? Because this ritual was specifically dedicated for a result, right? I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but so I followed the light. I followed it up the hill, out the window, up the hill, down the hill, through like this neighborhood, and then into a park. And in the park, at a picnic table, was this large group of people, and the magical light settled on them, and they were like illuminated in the light of like the sunlight was. I think it was setting. It was headed westward, so it was a westering sun, like maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon, something like this. And I just went down there, man, and it all played out. Like everything in the entire interaction played out exactly the way that I felt it should. Like everything was like a magical click, like saying what's up to the dudes that were there, like interacting with them, the greeting, like getting what I wanted, like everything, like the entire thing. And it played out just to such perfection that I was like, damn, not only does magic work, and can not only this magic be done just with the mind, like, and this is what Israel Regardie later taught, I read about it later on, but not only does it work, not only is it real, but it has a great power. And if you do it and you do it, correctly, if you have some intention. So again, it reaffirmed to me early on that I had this idea that I was a natural magician. And of course, the beginning of a lot of these rituals, the way that I learned them, are you invoke God and his angels to protect you while you're operating, and you ask for God's approbation and approval in doing these things. And, you give all glory unto God. So being a magician, a lot of people say, oh, it says in the Bible you shouldn't practice, sorcery or witchcraft or these things. This isn't sorcery. It's not witchcraft. It's ceremonial magic. And it was approved by God for David and Isis and Solomon and a lot of these Moses, a lot of these ancient guys. They did it. It was and again, Regardie talks about how it's more, in his understanding, it's more of a mind technology, right? Like you set the parameters in operation within the mind, and then you just, through coincidence or synchronicity, those things are revealed to you. And so sometimes I use the basic equation of ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you, right? And that's really as easy as it. I mean, it's that easy. It's not a tough thing, So if I know that you said you're not necessarily religious or, you affiliate, and you don't have to be. As a magician, you can utilize, and it would be even easier for you because if you don't just ascribe everything to like one dominant God, then it doesn't put a lot of taboos in your life. And I found that having like inhibitions and taboos, they're really not that good for people. You know, like you need to be a little more natural in your expression to life. And so many things shouldn't be
Hmm.
like forbidden or taboo to you. You know, that's not, I don't think that's a good aspect of life. Yeah, so I think I have a unique take on these things to some extent. I mean, you know, not totally unique, but you know, it is what it
No,
is.
it's good though. It's good. You expound on it very well.
Yeah, it's definitely if you have, you know, if you do develop some deeper interest, then there's a lot of ways to research it. Again, I would say like one of the fundamental source books for any person getting involved would be initiate, and it's a little bit dense to read. Like it has a lot of
Hmm.
practices though in it. It's called Initiation, and you might be familiar with it. It's Initiation into Hermetics, and it's written by a guy named Franz Barden. Hermetics. So you know Hermes is like the god Thoth or the god of magic from Egyptian. Well, they attribute Hermes or Mercury, like the fastest star in the sky, the roaming star. Yeah, so this one's called Initiation into Hermetics or Initiation or Hermetic Science. I forget exactly.
Didn't Hermes become Trismegistus or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Trismegistus.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the affiliation. And the guy
Hmm.
who wrote this one is called Franz Barden. Yeah, so this is one of the more famous books for like getting started on how to. So one of the easy practices you could do, like for self hypnosis and meditative practice, is you can just take any sigil, like a yin yang symbol or a star or something that you like as a sigil, and you put it on the wall just above eye level at like maybe and sit about hand's length, a little more than arm's length from it, and you put this sigil up on your wall and then you stare at it for 60 seconds and then close your eyes for 60 seconds and let it reappear in the mind, right? So this is one of like the first basic exercises, and do that like 3 or 4 times and practice every day for like a month. And that's one of the basic exercises to awaken like your sensitivity to like chi or etheric energy, like the astral light. So there are a lot of different words that are used that are not the same thing. Like people say Hermes is Hermes Trismegistus, is Thoth, is Mercury, is Tahuti, right? But they're not. They're all individual expressions, but they are all representing like magic or the course of magic. Um, so you could call it mercurial energy, right? So it's basically like, you know, the element mercury and how it
Well, what
appears,
happened?
right? It's a metal, but it's in a liquid state. Yeah, so the astral light seems to be mercurial, and it vibrantly radiates light. So if you've ever had a lucid dream, then that lets you
Hmm.
know what the astral light is like. And so when you become more sensitive to it, you'll find that there's actually things in the world, like in the regular everyday world, maybe in your room or like out in the world, where you can't see them unless you've made yourself sensitive to being able to see that type of energy. And through this one practice, just getting a sigil, staring at it, close the eyes, let it fade into the mind, do it again, do that every day, you know, for like a month, you'll start to wake up and see that there are other energies that you hadn't noticed before. So that's kind of an interesting thing, you know.
Hmm.
And it will increase your ability to have like the ability to basically we call this like opening the third eye or the heavenly vision, and so you'll be able to see things that you wouldn't ordinarily see. Then it a little more fun and interesting to go into places like temples or churches or religious places, because you'll start to notice things that you would have not ordinarily recognized in those environments,
Hmm.
like like maybe glowing aura around a cross or an altar or something like that. Or you'll even start to get greater discernment on the wickedness of many of the people who live and work in those areas.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Some little spirit will tell you this guy's molested children. You'll be like, "Oh, what the fuck? I didn't need to know that.
Damn.
I'm out of
Oh shit.
I'm out of here." Yeah, so you start to develop greater spiritual sensitivity, and it's a real thing, man. I mean, all I can tell you is my own experiential evidence or what other people have written and talked about. But for me, at least, I've encountered that it tends to be real. Yeah, I could tell you about some of the more interesting ones, but you know, like someone else's testimony is never as good as one's own experience in doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what if you've never had an experience?
That's what I'm saying. You do like this one simple practice, and you're guaranteed you're gonna get a breakthrough.
Yeah, I like to listen to people's experiences. You know, it's almost like a life hack. You know, so I can learn by their mistakes.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
good way too. I'm gonna play a little more of this bio. Let's see what she's got to say about him.
Yeah.
He argues that psychological health and self awareness are prerequisites for engaging effectively in esoteric rituals and practices.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. He said that like good physical health, good psychological health, and mental stability, that those are all prerequisites for doing magic. I would definitely agree with that. I'd say those are three treasures that you want in any ordinary life, right? You want to try to maintain good physical health and have good, like emotional control. Don't be emotionally unstable, and then have good mental clarity.
This view is evident where he states psychotherapy is of utmost importance to the Kabbalist, magician, or mystic. Here, Ragardi aligns psychological well being with the successful practice of Kabbalistic and magical rituals, advocating for a harmonious relationship between these two realms.
Yeah, that's a good aspect too. I don't know if you've ever like had the pleasure of working with a good psychotherapist, and I don't think that all of them are good. In fact, uh,
Hold on. Hold on. I missed that part. What did it say about the two realms?
oh, that according to Israel Regardi's teaching, he said that you need a good psychotherapist if you're doing magic because you want to have someone that you can talk to and reflect these ideas on and make sure that you don't get too involved in fantasy. Because one of his main thrusts of his interpretation of magical ritual is that you don't want the mind to wander into fantasy. You want to be really firmly grounded in reality when you do it, so that you don't become like maniacal. Because many people do tend to let the illusion of the mind deceive them, and they think, oh, this thing happened, or I got this result, or this magical thing occurred, and then they become maniacal, or they're deranged. They start to live
Yeah.
in a world of delusion, which isn't good. You want to be firmly rooted in material reality and not deceive yourself. Yeah, I think that's very important too. I had a really
Well,
good I had a really good hypnotherapist for like 15 years, but he died like last year. So that sucks.
that goes back to what I was saying to you about I kind of adapt to the physical right now because the physical is what I know. I rarely speak on the spiritual side, the other side, because I'm yet to experience that.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's a better choice. If you're not in a community, or you don't have friends, or you don't have like a serious interest in the practice, it's a bit better just to do what you know and do what
mhm.
pays the bills first and foremost. None of us can survive without having our life stabilized. You know what I mean? So I think that's first and foremost to anything else.
Mm, most definitely, I agree with that. Austin in the building. What's happening, Austin? How we doing? Big up.
Yeah, who's Austin? Is he a friend of yours? You know him?
Yeah, cool cat. He's a cool cat. Austin Murphy.
Okay, good looking out, Austin. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. Hit the like button if you get a chance.
Hmm.
Let YouTube know. Let them know what's up.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, she's a good looking gal. I like her, Angela. I like this kind of gal. I like my gals a little more plump, a little more dark. What about you? I don't know. You married
Plump
you
and
married
dark.
you married man. You got a family, right?
Well, I've got a family, but I'm not married.
Oh, okay.
hmm hmm
How do you like your gals? You like them like this, or you like
Um,
the skinny chicks?
I've had all of them, to be honest, and
Yeah.
yeah, I've had all types, big, slim, skinny, but I haven't had fat. Right,
Okay.
that's one thing I haven't had. I don't think I want fat.
No, I don't. I'm not into fat gals. I like them plump though.
Yeah,
I don't know. When I was younger, I liked skinny girls. Like teens, 20s, something like that. I thought it was more aesthetically pleasing, like more beautiful to the eye. But then as you get older, man, you're like, you want a little flesh on your gal. You don't want a skinny
yeah,
chick in bed with you.
yeah,
That's no.
yeah. True
She's nothing but
story.
bones and flat ass. That's no fun.
hmm That's it. That's it.
Yeah, let's see what she's got to say. She knows what she's talking about, man. I've watched her for a while, maybe 3 or 4 years now.
The second model is terminological psychologization. Ragati often replaces esoteric metaphysical terminology with psychological terms, while preserving the original esoteric meaning. In The Art of True Healing, he uses psychological language to describe the process of visualization and meditation, traditionally esoteric practices. For example,
Yeah, so I would say this is where some of his like groundbreaking work took place in this terminology in changing the language from being very esoteric and unapproachable to making it easier for a modern reader to understand. And one of the things he deeply advocates is the power of prayer and visualization. And these are two aspects that I utilize in my practice quite a bit. Like I always start I try to always start my transmission with what I call the adoration of Abraxas. And it's just a basic prayer, Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one. And
Mhm.
I say it every day. I say it sometimes several times a day just because it's one of my core prayers. But a lot of people in the Christian church when I was young, they would just kind of pray willy-nilly, or some of the more like, KJV, like King James version, would use the Lord's Prayer, like Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, this kind of thing. But I find that ritualized prayer is useful for me anyways. Like it helps, and again, at a psychological level, and it's not just a psychological pacifier. I think that it also has like some sort of genuine affect on the human psyche. And so I think it's useful.
hmm
But yeah, you can write a prayer of your own, or choose a prayer, or use affirmations, or anything you want, and that helps to address, like, that bridges the ordinary, everyday, mundane, physical world to the spiritual world via the mind, right? So, like in the Chinese ideal, like the spirit enters the body from heaven, right, from the celestial realm, and via breathing, right? You breathe in the gas of qi all the time, and you're always inhaling spirit and then exhaling like noxious gases, and just imagining that and thinking about that as you breathe. That's a form of meditation and cleansing of the body, so to speak, right?
hmm
And we know this scientifically is true as well, right? We inhale oxygen and then we off gas. What is it called? Um, carbonic acid. And so it is a legitimate, real thing. But yeah, it can purify body, mind, and spirit.
he refers to the visualization of the Sephiroth in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life as a form of mental exercise for psychological and spiritual health. This approach does not alter the esoteric content, but frames it in a language more accessible and acceptable to contemporary audiences. The third mode is reductive psychologization. This mode is evident in Regardy's interpretation of magical practices through the lens of psychological theories, often reducing esoteric concepts to psychological phenomena. In The Tree of Life, Regardy interprets the practice of ceremonial magic as a method for accessing and integrating the unconscious mind, aligning with Freudian and Jungian psychoanalytic theories.
Yeah, and I would align my understanding of it in this vein as well. I think that one of the things Freud and Carl Jung didn't distinguish is the third. Well, they did distinguish it as a super consciousness, but they said that basically we have the conscious aspect of the mind, what we're attentive to. Then we have the subconscious aspect of the mind, which is below that, which operates like all of our autonomous functions, like the beating of our heart, breathing, right? But breathing is one you can become consciously control over. Most of the time, people just breathe without thinking about it. But if you think about it, you can be consciously aware of and control your breathing. So that's a direct bridge from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, is when you control your breathing. Like, and I do it all the time. Like when I start a transmission, I say, take a deep breath, hold for 3, 2, 1, and then command yourself to relax. This is also a kind of hypnotherapy, right? It's like self-hypnosis. And okay, so what I meant to get by that too was that this, so you have the conscious attention at the celestial Dantian, and then at the middle Dantian, the subconscious, and then at the low Dantian, we have the completely unconscious aspects of the physical being, right? Like, so that would be like your bones, your bone marrow, right? Your flesh itself, right? That's not more active, like that very stabilized, super materialized aspect of the human being. And then the subconscious would be the more liquid aspects, like the blood and the bile and these types of things. And then the immediately conscious would be like the fire of the mind, right? Your attentive awareness and your breath, right? Those are the most active forces in the human being. Anyway, so yeah, Israel Regardie's work is really good in bridging that gap. And yeah, she points that out quite explicitly here.
He suggests that the symbols and rituals of magic are effective tools for psychological exploration and transformation, thereby reducing their esoteric significance to psychological mechanisms. The fourth model is idealistic psychologization. Regardie maintains an identity between psychological and esoteric discourses.
Yeah, so I think in this section she's going to get into the idea of so it's an idealistic psychologicalization. Seems to be a hard word for me to say, but this is where we aspire to those archetypes. So he took like the ritual of the Holy Guardian Angel, the HGA, and turned it into a self-hypnotic therapy meditation for visualizing your angel above you, invoking your angel through prayer, and then merging with your angel so that you have a psychic image of an archetype, like whatever god form you wanted to take, like Tahuti or Ra or Odin, or like in my spiritual tradition, I utilize a Chinese master of Tao. His name is Lu Dongbing. And so you evoke that archetype within you so that you feel more and more like that archetype and are able to utilize, like, I don't know, like to become the epitome of something. And so I could liken it to a basketball player thinking about Michael Jordan and then, trying to utilize Michael Jordan's winning methods to improve their own game, right? Or a bodybuilder using Arnold Schwarzenegger as an archetype, or a footballer, choosing a really good footballer and then using that as an archetype to build themselves to be more powerful. So it's something like that. I don't know if that's useful to, the average everyday person or not, but it is in the magic work tradition. We do this. So when you step into go ahead. Yeah, I think you might have bad mic again. Yeah, so basically, like if you step into the temple, you're an initiate first, but once you become an initiate, then you can start to assume god forms. So no longer are you stepping into the temple as, whoever, Frank Monday or KJV. You're stepping in as the representative archetype of Thoth or Hermes, right? And like, again, in my tradition, I would be stepping in as Lu Dongbing or one of the other Ba Xian, because I utilize their archetypes. which are eightfold and can be found in the original 8 trigrams of the I Ching. So yeah, it's kind of a lot to get your head around, especially at a beginner level. But it's basically that kind of idea, right? Like, you know, I'm lifting weights. I imagine myself as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, bad audio, no problem, man. I see that. I feel you. It broke up. I'll listen to a little more of what she says about this section.
Without subordinating one to the other, viewing the psyche as the root of sacrality. In A Garden of Pomegranates, he explores the Kabbalistic concept of the soul, aligning it with psychological states of consciousness. This approach does not diminish the esoteric understanding of the soul, but rather reinterprets it through a psychological framework, suggesting that spiritual experiences are deeply rooted in the psyche. Regardie's work demonstrates a complex interplay of these psychologization modes, intertwining psychological and esoteric elements in a nuanced manner. His early works blend psychological and esoteric elements, with clear articulations appearing in My Rosicrucian Adventure and The Middle Pillar.
Yeah, both seminal and definitive works on the magical tradition. You could see on the cover of the Rosicrucian Adventure, that's one of the main sigils or like tracing boards used in the Golden Dawn. And so again, like one of the processes of initiation is you memorize where every symbol is and what it means. Here it has the god Thoth at the center, the god of magic. In the Egyptian tradition, he's the ibis-headed god, right? The god of oration. He supposedly this is the one that brought the word into being that Jehovah was able to use in order to create the world, right? So again, you have some correspondence between the more ancient Sumerian and Egyptian traditions with the more modern Abrahamic religions. And again, I'm not a religious aspirant per se, so I don't have any of the same taboos that any of them would, right? Like for a Christian, you can only worship Jesus as a way to heaven, but as a magician, I can approach and utilize any god I want because yeah, I look at them as in a different way. You know, it's a different thing.
Okay.
Of course, I wouldn't use the demoniacal ones. I don't approach infernal gods like the devil or Satan or Lucifer, any of those guys. They're not a part of my path. But it's
Have they
for
ever?
me. What's that?
Was there ever a part where they was a part of your journey?
Oh, of my journey, there may have been when I was younger,
Cool.
but I'm older and a little more enlightened now. But when I came to China and I started deeply studying the Chinese system, I realized that they have direct correspondences in ancient Taoism between what could be like, for example, YHVH, or some say Jehovah, but in Hebrew that would actually be Yahava, not Jehovah, but with a Y, right? Yahava. And when I started studying the Freemasonic plates, they always have YHVH in Hebrew written at the top of all of their stuff. You'll notice it everywhere, right? They're always utilizing Jehovah. And I had a realization on my own before I later read this, but I had a realization that it was the 4 Kabbalistic elements, that the first Yud represents fire, the Hey is water, then the Vau is air, and then the last Hey is earth. And they say that the word of God, we're made in the image of God, right? And the word, this is the first word in the Torah that brings our existence into reality. And so if you write the name Jehovah or the YHVH in Hebrew from top to bottom, like you do with Chinese script, it actually forms a pictograph of a man. So the first Yud becomes his head, the Hey becomes the arms, the Vowel becomes the body, and then the second Hey becomes the legs. And it makes sense because the fire is in the mind, right? The divine spark in the mind of man. And then, okay, so it
Prometheus.
goes all the way down. Anyway, so I had this revelation, and there's an exact correspondence in Chinese esoteric Tao of the highest god in our realm is called Yun Shi Tian Zun. So it's also 4 characters long. He's also got his name is a tetragrammaton, right? It's a 4-lettered name.
Hmm.
And I had this breakthrough, and then I went in again into like the deep sleep of Xialam, and I floated up into the celestial dome, and I was up in the presence of his palace, and I saw him sitting on a crystal throne, and I was like, what's going on? And it turns out it was Yun Shi Tian Tuan, and there was a whole hierarchy of angelic forces around the throne, and it was like, this is a legitimate thing. It's not just a mental like fantasy, that this is actually a real operation of our realm, that there is somebody in charge. And it was kind of a breakthrough, like there's an eternal being with great power. And again, there's levels above that too, so that's not the ultimate level, that's not the ultimate gate, but it's definitely a big breakthrough for a little dude hanging out
Hmm.
here on in this realm.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
so go ahead.
no, using things as stepping stones. I like what you said. It's not the final part, right? I feel
No,
like
no, it's not.
yeah, most of these we come across, we really should use it as stepping stones to find the bigger picture. Right? We shouldn't be content. We should always search for more, if that makes any sense.
Yo, absolutely. And that's just a limited, right? Like a limited experiential evidence that kept me interested. Because like you said, you've never really discovered something or come across something that's really, piqued your interest into this field. And for me, like they've been rare and few and far between, but the ones that I did have along the way, were so powerful that they couldn't be easily disputed. Like what I mean by that is people could say, "Oh, you had a hallucination, or you had a fantasization, or you had, or it was within a dream, or something like this," and so you could easily discount it. But the truth was that when I've shifted into those realms, whether it be through dreaming or meditation, that they actually seem more real than real, right? So, like
Mhm.
an ordinary dream, it seems chaotic, it seems fantasy, but when you shift in like to the sleep of Sialam, or you go into like deep internal alchemy, and you travel to these realms, um, they're realer than this realm, and so there's something persistent about them too. Like I've had recurring dreams since childhood of certain places within Dreamland, and like every time I visit them, they're persistent. They may have changed a little bit, but they're what I mean is that they're extremely consistent in what they are and how they appear in that realm. So I think it's more than that. It's more than just the fantasy aspect of the mind. You know what I mean? Because you do have to rationalize it. Otherwise, it's just madness, right? If you can't root it and ground it in some tangible scientific method of how to get back there and how to experience it, not only do it yourself but make it available to other people, then it just could be bullshit, right? So, um, yeah. Anyway, that's why I think sometimes it's valuable to vocalize it and talk about it with other people.
His later
Well,
works, like Roll Away the Stone, return to earlier reductionist themes, equating magic with a primitive psychological system. Ragardy's approach to psychologization is not straightforward. His teachings and practices are infused with psychological elements, but labeling them simply as psychologized does not fully capture the complexity of his ideas. A more accurate portrayal involves a 4-part typology, the one that we have just discussed: the complementary, terminological, reductive, and idealistic psychologization. This framework offers a clearer understanding of how Regardy melded psychological and esoteric discourses, providing a more nuanced perspective on the processes involved in his work.
Yeah, good magic. I've taken it to the next level too. Like I've done a series of plates and charts illustrating these concepts into picture form. And so someone who's like not as interested in reading a lot of book material, I've actually broke it down into like infographics that are mostly just based on paper and in my journals and stuff. But I'd like to spend probably this summer or maybe sometimes in the near future compiling these into like a PDF that I could share with people electronically. Because I think sometimes if you look at something in like a diagram or like a picture, it could be easier to understand. So I've done some simple comic work on it, like understanding the precepts of magic and how to use it, and also like meditative practices on bridging the gap between the conscious mind and the subconscious and the unconscious to get magical results. Like one real easy, like a lot of people talk about The Secret and manifestation and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But if you try a real simple activity like imagining a coin, and this exercise is found in Robert Anton Wilson's book Prometheus Rising. So imagine finding like some money out in, like, you live in London, so it would be easy to do. So imagine finding like, I don't know, like a dollar coin or I don't know what do you guys call it, a dollar, or what do you call it? A pound.
Oh,
yeah, a pound, a pence.
Pound. Yeah.
Yeah, or a pound coin or a pence coin or whatever, something like a penny. Imagine one vividly in your mind each time you have to take a walk through the city or go somewhere, and then just imagine that you're going to find it somewhere, right? And then do it every time you go out and try to keep track of and think of how often you actually find one. And the first time you find one, try to like really carefully observe. Go ahead.
No, listen, what you just said there, right? That used to be me when I was younger. Every time I used to go out with my friends, I was the one to always find the pounds on the floor. They started to call me Lucky. That was my nickname for a few months, Lucky. Wherever I went, I'd find money on the floor, bro.
That's it right there. That's magic right there, man. And you were doing it because you're a natural magician then, man. You know it. And that's why you probably don't even have to fucking think about it. Because you are a natural magician. That. Yeah, and if you do that like with a scientific method a little bit and think about it a little more, you'll start to develop that aspect of your mind that can make anything you want appear in front of you. Any job, any digs, any living, any car, anything that you want to bridge the gap to, you can actually figure, like, you don't have to know the how. All you have to know is that you have the power to do it. And so that's basic like manifestation magic. It's a little off or on though, like, but some like once you start. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you, but it's crazy now because a lot of things are starting to make sense to me, right? Because even like how you're talking about magic now, I've never really been into magic, but I've been looking into the eyes, right? I'm heavy on the eyes.
Right. You've mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've come to realize is now through my research, right, and understanding the three heavenly elements for alchemy, right? The main ingredient, the three heavenly ingredients for alchemy is also found in the eye.
Is that right?
Correct, my friend. And listen, not only the eye, is found in the lens, the part that I keep describing to people, the lens of God.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a big part of where magic is occurring, right? Like the magical symbol is always, it's represented oftentimes as the eye in the triangle. And so you've seen the triangle with the eye in it, right? Well, that represents, they say, the third eye or the pineal gland. But what it actually represents is Solomon's triangle of manifestation, or what he called the triangle of art. And so you triangulate, right? You have two eyes, and then you triangulate along a third point, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the point of manifestation. When you manifest a thought, like, I know you've already done this. You just told me you've done it with the coins, right? You were the one to find the pounder all the time. Yeah. And that's because you use the eye, right? You use that eye of Ra, the eye of Horus, the eye of God, that manifestation point, that triangulated point. And all you had to do was think about it, and then bam, you're suddenly lucky. Well, that energy, that finding point, that's the third part of the equation. That's called possesism, or the possessing. And you've learned to do it. A moment ago, you told me too. You said, I've been with all kinds of gals, right? All kinds of lady friends. And each one, each one was done through the eye, right? You captured the eye, and you melded your magic, because we consider Solomon did this as well. That's sex magic, right? And that's one of the highest forms right there. And especially when you have that goal, and then you nail it, and then you don't shoot your fucking seed. I know a lot of people say that, that they're not necessarily into that, but in the Chinese tradition, we believe that the more times you interact sensually with a woman, sexually, without losing your semen, the more magical power you would acquire. And in fact, if you try it just 2 or 3 times, if you got a gal that you like to work out with or whatever, sexually. I know some people say you shouldn't talk about this on YouTube, but fuck that. We should be able to talk about whatever the fuck we want as adults on YouTube, right? Then just try it 2 or 3 times, right? Like, try to do it once. Try to get a nice session in 20, 30 minutes, whatever. And then just don't shoot the rocket, and then see how you feel. Relax, rest, take a nap, whatever, do your thing. And then try it again. Try it 2 or 3 times, man. I'm just saying. And then the 3rd or 4th time, you're probably going to want to fucking just shoot it all over her face or whatever. That's fine and dandy. But you'll notice just from a couple of times that you start to build up an electromagnetic static that you've never, like, if you haven't done this, then it's going to be life-changing, man. I swear to God. Like, when I was younger, man, in my 20s, I was hitting all kinds of tail, and I would go 10 or 15 times without firing the cannon. And like, I'd build up so much magical power, man. I could manifest money, drugs, cars, anything I fucking wanted at the snap of my fingers, man. So yeah, it's a real thing. There's you also, you don't have to do that. That's not like I was saying, when you were a young man, you probably hadn't even experienced sex yet, but here you are. They're calling you lucky because you're finding pounders all the time. It's a real thing, man. And that energy of, like, when other people noticed it, that's also a part of that auric energy. They said, hey, fucking London's lucky London, right?
Yeah.
That's it. They're calling you out. They're calling you wizard, they're calling you magician. They're calling you magi, and you could feel it, and it reinforces it, and you start to learn it better. Yeah. So don't forget about that, man. That experience and those other experiences, those are the path of magic, man. That's the center path, right up the middle of the fucking, right up the middle of the tree, man. It's good magic. I like to hear it.
Thank you. I tell you what, in magical, I mean, I did manage to change my life around, from what I used to do to what I've become now. I feel like it's a big process, I think good magic, as you would say, good magic was involved. And, I think I used it wisely, because I'm here now with yourself. I'm still alive. I'm free to a degree, not in jail, got a family. So that good
Right.
magic
Yeah,
came in.
those are absolutely, man. And those are the fruits of doing good magic, man, is that you can break through any kind of negative karma. You can break free of the chains of what they call karma, which I mostly think is fantasy. But you can live a good life. You can live a better life. You can enjoy your life, study more, enjoy more, have more wonderful meals, have more beautiful relationships. And I think one of the key factors here is to be able to connect your past gains with present gains and future gains, and keep building your temple, man. Because every man's a Solomon of his own temple, and you got to keep building that up. I don't, there's stories out there that we're meant to be poor and destitute and suffering. Fuck all that. We're not meant to be that way. That's why there's this egalitarian elite class that rises to the top, because they've got everybody deceived into believing that there's virtue in poverty, and there's not. I mean, there can be, but why should we not be able to build up and of course we should build our treasures more in heaven, which means that and when I think what that means is that you build your internal virtue. You're connected to your past, you're engaged in your present, and you're working towards a better future. That's a part of those heavenly treasures. Your mind, your health, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Got Voy in the building. Hey, just a heads up as well. Just in case if the connection goes, but when you end this live, I want to stay on, right? Because I want to show you something, some of my work that I've been working on. Give you a
Okay,
sneak
yeah,
preview.
good magic. Yeah, I look forward to that. Did you say Voi's here? Okay, yeah, I see Voy now. Yo, Voy. He's saying what's up to you. Yo, Voy.
Mhm.
What does YAO mean? Yao.
Yeah.
That's Chinese. That's Chinese, man. Does he even know what that means? I reposted your
Possibly.
link. I meant to post the link if he wanted to jump on. I don't know what Voy's up to. It's always good to have Voy here, man. Like I was saying
Mhm.
with Voy, KGV, and Frank Monday in the same room, you're looking at the fucking three magi right there, baby. The
Ooh.
three amigos.
Yes, I
Yeah,
like that.
God says when three are gathered in my name, there is real power.
Mm. Hmm.
The three kings, right? Three fucking kings, baby. What's up? Yeah, I don't know. He might have shit going on. Yeah, if you got shit to do though, you got to dip. Just let me know. Let's listen to a little more what she's got to say.
In
Yeah.
conclusion, while Regardy's work integrates esoteric discourse with psychology, this integration is multifaceted and complex, characterized by various modes of psychologization. This differentiated typology reveals Regardy's engagement in distinct psychologizing strategies, used both separately and in combination, sometimes leading to logical challenges but generally maintaining internal coherence. This clarification is crucial for accurately understanding Regardy's contributions and for refining the concept of psychologization within modern esoteric discourse.
Yeah, I think she's right here. Like that is one of the things that makes reading Regardi a little more challenging. Is you need some foundation in psychology and hypnosis, but with a little bit of inquiry into those two fields, you can much better understand like how he was applying psychology to magic. I think it's a really valuable contribution that he made. Again, you know, there's a modern day way of thinking that if you think about everything good, you know, you're always going to have goodness and stuff like that. And there's some aspect to that, but you need more than that too. You need, I think an individual needs all kinds of good affirmations and maxims and studies into their own traditions, if they're inclined to, and to maintain a good spirit at the same time, good mental health, this kind of thing. And like you said, good physical health as well. You got to have regular good food and rest and activity. You got to have a balanced life. I think that's what's key. But yeah, magic can bring about a lot of good results, man. I don't think Voi's got time to jump up here today. Maybe.
Therefore, any claims about modern esoteric discourse being psychologized might probably benefit from being re-examined in light of this typology. This is it for today's video. If you watched until this point, leave me a brain or a mind emoji. Now, my dear symposiasts, this project of delivering free academic knowledge based on peer-reviewed scholarship can only exist thanks to your support. So if you have the means and want to offer this knowledge to all, please consider supporting my work with a one-off PayPal donation by joining memberships, my inner symposium on Patreon or Coffee, super thanking me in.
Yeah, she wants to get paid. Yeah, she did some good edits on this and put it all together. It's a short video. I think it's like 15 minutes long or something.
Hmm.
It's good though. Yeah, if you guys like her, you could check her out. Her name's Angela Puka. She's a cutie. I like to watch her.
Yeah. I mean, this has become my thing of lately, chicks that are deep-minded, I'm not really
Yeah.
fond of the girls that like to flash it a lot and have nothing to say. I like women like
Mm.
this with that mindset.
Well, yeah, the other ones are useful too, but you dip in and dip out,
Yeah.
and don't lose anything while you're there, and you can pull some of that electromagnetic feminine energy because that shit's potent, man. But you got to be careful too. You don't want to get involved with some gal that's gonna cause you any kind of fucking hardship
But that's it.
because
If
they
the
like
mind isn't
drama, right?
connecting, exactly. If the mind isn't connecting, then I don't give it time, really.
Yeah, and you're getting a little older too. And as you get older, like me now, I'm in my mid 50s, man. Um, I like gals, you know, like when I was younger, I liked young girls, but now that I'm older, I like older gals. I like gals in their mid 30s, and even I've even met gals that are older than me, and I'm like mid 50s, and I'm like, damn, this woman's hot, you know, and she's got something to talk about. And I'm a married man, you know, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the company of women. You know, I work a job, and I got people in the office that I talk to and stuff, you know, and I'm not unfaithful to my wife, of course, but you know, it is what it is, right? I'm I'm a I'm a ladies man. I like the ladies, definitely
That's it.
do. I I know voice sometimes he be acting like he might like that gay shit.
No, Voy loves the ladies.
Yeah, he
And the
better,
ladies love Voy. The ladies
motherfucker.
love Voy.
They better love him. Yeah, he needs some good loving. What's happening, Voy? What you out there doing? Yeah, Voy. Yeah, Voy said he doesn't like to listen to Jack because he thinks Jack's too gay. I thought that was the funniest fucking thing, man. I don't know
Uh,
though. Did you see when he had that good looking what is she? She's like an OnlyFans model. What's her name? Eternal. Have you ever seen
oh
Eternal
no.
on Jax?
Yeah, I'm the
Okay.
one that introduced her to the community.
Is that right? Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, when he had her on that day, he lit up like a Christmas tree, and I know homeboy was fucking jerking a little bit of the wand underneath the camera because she's
Yeah.
undeniably sexually attractive, right? And so
Yo,
yeah,
she
he
bad for the
fired
girl.
up. He was on fire. He couldn't even talk straight, man. He was stuttering and stumbling, and I thought he
Yeah,
was
and
gonna
see,
fucking
look,
blow.
hold on, look. I'm glad you
Uh,
actually mentioned that name because that's one of the things I'm talking about, right? I would rather geek out with a chick, right? Proper geek out with them than have someone like Eternal around me. She's that energy
right.
which I don't want around me. I've had it around me before, right? I know that energy. I try to stay
Well,
far, you
yeah.
know.
In the Taoist spiritual tradition, they find that actually quite wicked. And the only reason is,
Mm,
you know, like I don't see nothing wrong with her. She's doing her thing. She's shaking her ass on camera. But I mean, and on an adult platform, that's okay. But they say that the real serious risk is that when young men are overly stimulated by that, it makes them do really deviant things. And so they say that in order to protect young men, that's why they advocate, even, I mean, somewhat like the Muslims, that women should be in public dressed very moderately, very conservatively, and shouldn't dress overly sexualized because it over sexualizes not only young men, but all men. And that's not really appropriate, you know. Like, there's nothing wrong with sex, there's nothing wrong with being sexual, but there's a time and a place.
time
And
and
to
a
do that
place.
open, yeah, to do that openly on a public format, we kind of consider, in the Taoist tradition, we kind of consider that to be a little bit wicked because, you know,
Yeah.
you're kind of trying to pull people in just with that aspect. And it's like, oh yeah, she's got something to talk about and shit, but it's like, is that really the way you want to present it? You know what I mean? But
Mm,
yeah, to each his own. Do what you want to do.
yeah.
I'm not
Not
going to
my cup
slide her for it. No. But yeah, it's not
of
your cup of tea anymore.
Not my cup
And
of tea. Mm-mm. Especially when I got a
yeah.
daughter as well, you know. It's like, mm-mm,
Yeah, it's you. That's really when it changed for me too, man. That's weird,
mm,
huh? Like once I had a daughter, I was like, damn, that's not
mm.
appropriate. I got I got a little girl, man. Why
Mhm,
don't you put on some
mhm,
clothes,
mhm.
lady? Because you wouldn't want it for your own daughter, you know, and you want to
Yeah,
protect them. And yeah, it's just a natural response. That's interesting.
that's it.
Yeah, I got a little cap
That's it.
dude here. Probably
And
got
it's
some.
like,
Is
as
at
men, we
first
shouldn't be
sight
doing.
rather
Yeah, go ahead. You were saying.
No, I was just saying, as men, we probably shouldn't be doing things in front of our sons, right? And as mothers, they shouldn't be doing things in front of their daughters, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And
And I think
that's the
that
funny
falls
thing.
in with like, yeah, go ahead. I think that falls in with like what I call natural law. You know, you could call it God's law or whatever, but I believe that there's a celestial ordering to these things, and that as a higher aspect of humanity, we naturally order in that way, you know, and we have a natural affinity to know those things, right? That, um, yeah, we definitely, that's true. And not only that, for, like I said, for children, you know, and in the Taoist tradition, a man's not a man until he's 25, and for women, it's 22. You know, in the Western world, they're always saying, "Oh, at 18, you're an adult. You know, you can get out there on OnlyFans and shake your ass." It's like, no, they're, the human mind doesn't come to mature, like total growth and maturation until 25, and this is scientific. You know,
Hmm.
so I think definitely we need to protect children from this type of thing. And we need to be conservative. And I think somehow in our speech too, like sometimes, you know, we get online and we're talking shit and we're like, we let a lot of explicitive or foul language drop, and that's not necessarily great either. You know, sometimes it's necessary, but most of the time it's not. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So yeah. So this guy, this is Dr. Justin Sledge, a PhD in, I believe, also religion, so theology. But yeah, he's obviously a Jewish guy. He's got his little cap on. Um, he runs a channel called Esoterica, and he studies magic and the arcane and the occult and religion. But he says that he's never practiced. He does prayer, but he's never practiced magic of any kind. So he's never had any magical experiences. This is what he claims. But I like to listen to him because he gives a very good historical perspective on many of the things that I study. And I think he has really good Hebrew pronunciation because I believe he is a Jew, but he's an American.
Mm.
Uh, anyway, so I do find interesting aspects to this part of the study. Here in this video, he's talking about King Solomon.
The
Okay.
imagery is at first sight rather shocking. Solomon, the third king of Israel, surrounded by misshapen demons in his bid to build nothing less than the temple for the Israelite God. This legend of Solomon and his esoteric powers over demons has inspired art, religion, and the occult practice for centuries.
Yeah, so I'll pause it right there. So in this picture he's got up right there right now, this is the seal of Solomon, or Solomon's basic magical circle, or supposedly, according to later mystics who wrote about Solomon. Again, a lot of this is rooted in legend, right? It's legendary. But you see off to the side, that's the eye in the triangle. That's the triangle of art. And that black dot in the middle is supposed to be an obsidian mirror. So he was summoning demons through a dark mirror in order to make them do things for him. So he would summon a demon, it would come out of this mirror, and he would trap it in one of these stars. And then he would basically torture it and command it to do things for him, like build the Temple of Solomon, supposedly, right? This is all legendary, of course. But he would stand at the center. Here's the altar at the center. So he would stand behind the altar. And then, so this direction must be south. And this will be southeast, I believe. Okay, that would be due east. He would be standing here and then facing south, and that would be southeast. Yeah, so it's all. Is it showing or no?
What I'm seeing there, I'm seeing the lens. I'm seeing the picture on the screen with the man sitting next to it. Yeah.
Right.
But right there, you see the black dot in the center, the black dot in the center. That's what you would call home, right? The triple black. That's what you would call home.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's the eye, right?
Darkness.
Yeah. There it is, man, and it's surrounded. It's got Tetragrammaton, Azazel or Azazazaton. Yeah, I can't read all the names on that one, but there's a lot of different renditions of this. But this is the basic idea, right? You form a magic circle, you have an altar at the center, and then you use a triangle of art to manifest entities, right? And then you communicate with and command these entities to do things for you. This is a pretty high level, though. I wouldn't recommend trying anything like this until you've had some prerequisite training.
Millennia, even. But how did Solomon come to be associated with the arcane? How did Solomon become the occult king. From his origins in the narrative of the Hebrew Bible to the early modern grimoires, such as the Lesser Key of Solomon, this is the first of a couple of episodes in a series exploring these more arcane dimensions of that great third Israelite king, Solomon. Make sure to subscribe here for weekly explorations of topics in the history of esotericism, and if you'd like to support the work of providing evidence-backed, free, and accessible content like this, I hope you consider checking out my Patreon and some of the cool merch that we have on the channel. If you're new to the study of esotericism and you want to get the lay of the land, I'd recommend checking out my study guide, which will orient you to this topic with reliable sources. And if you're interested in actual historical books on topics of the occult and the mystical, check out my bookstore over at Esoterica Rare Books. You can find all those links down in the description and in the pinned comment. But now let's turn to the esoteric history of King Solomon. I'm Dr. Justin Sledge, and welcome to Esoterica, where we explore the arcane in history, philosophy, and religion.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I remember when I was a kid and I did attend some regular church service, Sunday school, this kind of thing. And I always remember the stories about like Moses turning sticks into snakes and different types of magical performances that he did. And then David, slayed Goliath with the stone. And then there was King Solomon, and King Solomon was a wizard, he was a magician. And I always felt like those were some of the more interesting aspects of the religion. And I wondered why none of that was still taught. And they always had this attitude that like they thought, that magic and that type of thing was, you're not supposed to do it. It's somehow evil. And then when I got into studying it, it turns out that that's not the truth at all. It's absolutely the opposite. That's the way that God empowered his messengers, his prophets. And they said, you can do it, I do it, you can do it, and you can do even more powerful things, So for them to have like this prohibition on getting involved in talking to God and doing magic is like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be asking God to manifest the things we want and approaching him. And if there's demons around, we should be casting them out and fucking catching them and manipulating them. This is the way. So they kind of took everybody's power away. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to make us all weaklings, and they called us sheep and stuff like this. And I'm like, fuck all you guys. You guys got the wrong attitude. You're not approaching God at all by the right way. You're not supposed to be in there groveling on your knees. You're supposed to be in there like he's your dad, and being like, hey, why don't you kick down a couple of extra grand, for your kiddo. Yeah, so I think they look at it wrong. I think they're kind of looking at it backwards. But I mean, that's just my opinion. What do you think?
I think there's many ways how to look at it, right? But even when I hear people mention the word God, right, it seems like a lot of things have been hijacked. I mean, are we missing the full pronunciation of that word? Is it goddess, not just God?
Well, yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it has to be both, right? You can't have a creator God without a mother goddess. How the fuck nothing in the world's ever been created with just a single dude, They have to both get busy in order to bring things into being.
Well, this is it.
Yeah, so,
I mean, when we're speaking of gods, when we're speaking of plural, maybe it was just those two gods, mother and father, not many different gods, but plural, mother and father. But the mother never gets spoken about. There's no more plural.
In the Chinese tradition, they do though. Like, every time, like when there's been destruction upon the face of the earth, it's always a mother god and father god that come forward and repopulate. So, for the last big reset in their tradition, they say that it was Fuxi and Nuwa, and they recreated from the last great flood, and that's in their documents. I mean, that's in their legends.
That's good. I wasn't aware of that. That's good. Some ancient traditions still keep it real then.
Yeah, they do. That's why I wandered away from, the Western one because they had a Trinity, and they had this Father God and Holy Spirit and then divine child, right? So they have like their Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it's like, well, what do you mean? What's this Holy Spirit? Where's the mother, right? Where's the mother God?
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of fucked it up. But in the tradition I'm recreating for myself, like I don't have to follow anyone else's tradition. I can write my own, you know. So I utilize those forces. I do. I for my supernal triad, I do have a father, a mother, and then a divine child. And of course, I can jive with the idea that you can coalesce this into a monad as well, right? It can be a one idea. You know, you don't have, but triangulating it, getting your triangle again, and getting back to the eye and the triangle, right? That there you are. You're right there. You're the eye. You should tell me more about that too, because it's helping me learn and expand my own ideas and thinking. And I think that's what this is about. You know, these platforms, they're about fellowship. It's not like, hey, what do I know? If you don't know it, you're a dummy, right? It's no. It's like, what have you learned and experienced that can help me grow and develop, right?
Yeah.
And I already, just from our conversation yesterday, I already felt some growth and some expansion and, you know, looking at things in a new way.
Brilliant. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. You said you had something you want to share. It's nothing that will trigger the fucking censors.
Oh no, hell no, nothing crazy. It's just some of my work that I've been putting together.
Yeah. If you want to pop it up, we can deviate and have a look at that.
I wonder if it will play on this. Because sometimes when I'm live, let me look.
Yeah, it doesn't always work. Give it a try. Give it a shot. Let me know. I'll let his intro roll a little bit. He likes to drink absinthe. This esoterica guy, he likes absinthe. I've never really drank it.
De Teramos Consolatio Peccatorum, also simply known as the Book of Belial, was as popular as it was controversial, even forbidden at times. It describes a lawsuit launched by Satan against Jesus Christ for his illegal trespass into hell itself.
That's funny. It says a lawsuit that Satan launched a lawsuit against Jesus Christ for coming into hell. That's so funny.
Representing the forces of the devil is Belial, and presiding over the trial is, of course, none less than Solomon. First printed in 1473, the text went into numerous editions and translations and was made infamous for its lurid woodcut depictions of various demons testifying before Solomon. Of course, by the first generation of printing, Solomon was already very well known as both a judge, but also someone with a profound familiarity, maybe someone with a bit too much familiarity with demons and diabolical magic. Handbooks of black magic had circulated in his name for centuries, and the widespread of texts like the Consolatio Peccatorum only cemented Solomon as the arcane king of the esoteric. Solomon first appears in myth history as the third king of the ancient kingdom of Israel. Following a relatively Games of Thrones-y succession narrative, the second child of King David rises to the throne, solidifies his political situation by marrying a daughter of the Egyptian pharaoh.
It's interesting too, like the picture they have of him here, the painting, his garb, it looks more like Moorish or Tartarian than it does maybe Arabic, maybe Arabian.
Yeah, it's hard to actually pinpoint what type of era it's coming from.
Right. It's very interesting though. I mean, they were putting on some threads, huh? Like this is definitely probably like 14th century, something like that, right? But and it's true too that they didn't always depict even the ones that reached further back into the ancient world. They didn't like paint them and stuff in what we would consider to be like period correct garments. Like they may have put them in the garments they were wearing at the time. It's strange too, like in America, we have so many Capitol buildings, and in all of the Capitol buildings, like there's very interesting artwork, like this kind of artwork and other like Romanesque, people depicted in togas and walking around, in sandaled foot and this kind of thing. So it's there's some kind of definite disconnect between the ancient world and what we're taught today. It's like we don't get the full story somehow.
That's it.
Did you have any luck loading up that thing here on?
Yeah, I tried, but it was delaying and it was lagging. So
Okay.
it's gonna
Yeah.
have to be off live. Yeah.
No worries. We'll listen to what this guy says about Solomon.
And makes his first direct contact with the Israelite God. At Gibeon, Solomon makes sacrifices and undergoes a process of ritual incubation, that is to say, sleeping in a holy area such as a shrine or a temple in order to contact the divine through a dream. And in that very dream, Solomon admits that he actually lacks the knowledge of going out and coming in. This is perhaps his admission of his lack of knowledge around political or military acumen. Rises to the throne, solidifies his political situation by marrying
I'm going to replay a little bit of that for a
daughter of the
second.
Egyptian pharaoh, and makes his first direct contact with the Israelite God. At Gibeon, Solomon makes sacrifices and undergoes a process of ritual incubation, that is to say, sleeping in a holy area such as a...
Okay, yeah, so that's one of the interesting aspects about this that I've experienced directly in my life is, again, he says he does ritual incubation by sleeping in a temple or someplace that is thought to be held sacred to God. So I think this is somehow one of the ways they cut us off from this technology, because we can't actually go in and utilize many of these old world buildings or sleep in them. And I think it would have a different kind of effect. Like when you've got a lofty, vaulted, domed ceiling, imagine sleeping in that type of environment as opposed to a little square box, with like a 10 or 12 foot ceiling.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to have a different type of feeling. But I've had the opportunity to have some of like what I told you a moment ago. They typically refer to as the sleep of Shialam. I believe I'm saying it correctly. It's an Arabic word, but yeah, Shialam. So he has this direct connection to God through sleep, and that's an interesting aspect of it. Because I found it to be true. That's why I mention it. Yeah. So this is a very interesting image. We see some type of angelic being surrounded by angels and got some light beaming out of his eyes. And the guy's down here asleep, taking it all in. Very interesting.
Shrine or a temple in order to contact the divine through a dream. And in that very dream, Solomon admits that he actually lacks the knowledge of going out and coming in. This is perhaps his admission of his lack of knowledge around political or military acumen. And he requests of his God, Yahweh, a listening heart, able to distinguish good from evil such that he can justly rule over Israel.
I want to point out that he mentions this aspect here. He says in the original Hebrew text, which I found some direct connection to ancient Chinese pictographs in the writing system. In fact, the Proto-Hebrew script in its ancient form looks just like rudimentary Chinese characters. And I have done some work on connecting these.
Oh, okay.
But with the word coming and going, like he says, coming in and going out, this is actually in its older Chinese form. We say chu ru. And so chu means to go out and ru means to come in. And it doesn't exactly mean what he says it means here. It could indicate that, but it means like the study in a field or going about the endeavor of something. So when you enter into a new study, like for example, if you started studying Magick or I start studying your revelations, this is called rumor, or to go into the study of it. And churu means to master it. So it's like a process of entering and leaving through doors or going through gates. And it means to acquire mastery of something. Yeah, so it's very interesting. And it's interesting to me that the ancient Hebrew uses that exact form as Chinese does. I mean, modern Chinese is based entirely on ancient pictograph Chinese. So even to today, they still use, their ancient characters for writing their language. Yeah, so I thought that was worth mentioning.
For such a request, Yahweh grants Solomon just that, a wise and discerning mind, along with promises of both riches and glory and a long life, if and only if he walks in the ways of Yahweh. Thus, very early in the narrative, we find Solomon being granted his famous wisdom through apparently supernatural means in this dream vision with Yahweh. That wisdom, of course, is immediately put on display with the dispute over the two women and the baby, such that we learn that Solomon possesses Chokhmat Elohim, divine wisdom. Now, the nature of that.
Yeah, I'll pause it there for a second too to mention. So Hokmah is wisdom in Hebrew, and it's the second sphere on the tree of life in the supernal, the triads. So you have Keter, Hokmah, Binah, and Hokmah represents, like, I would say, the sun god aspect, like the divine child, whereas Keter and Binah would be the mother and father god, right? Or you could reverse it, and you could say that Binah and Hokmah represent the male and feminine gods, right? God and goddess. And then Keter is their crowning achievement. This is like what they produce. So by the female god, or the mother and the father god coming together, they produce offspring, right? As a of the union of their interaction. And so Hokmah Elohim, you would also have Binah Elohim and Keter Elohim. So Elohim here means divine, right? Or the divine force. And it would be different in usage than singular Elohim, or Elohim used in a singular
Plural,
sense.
isn't it? Is it plural, Elohim? I thought that was more plural.
Elohim is plural, but if you use it in a singular sense, meaning the Elohim, then you would mean the creator gods. But when you say Hokmah Elohim, then it changes sense to mean like as an adjective. So in English, it would be like Elohim Hokmah, right? Like divine Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
But why was I pointing that out? Oh, because he received this through a dream, and I wanted to reveal that I have had one of these. Like, I've had many of the sleep of Sialam. Well, not many, but a few notable ones. But I had one really notable one where I was working through a very hard part of my life and going through like almost the dark night of the soul. Like really bad things were happening. Or could be viewed as bad, like death in the family and hardship in my career, and like, some marital disharmony with my wife and stuff. But I was on the edge of like the only time in my entire life that I've actually contemplated suicide. And I thought, fuck all this, I'm done. I'm ready to fucking give up, and end it all. But I called out and I said, hey, if there's anything, you better show me something now, or I'm gonna come up there directly into the afterworld and challenge you. And I was really, upset, and I did some ritual magic and stuff, but then I went into one of those deep sleeps and I had a really intense revelation. And I said, they always, like, I've had these dreams, man, these lucid fucking deep dreams. And the angels at the gate, when you return to like waking world, they make you forget things. They'll tell you this you will not remember, and they seal it off in your mind somehow. And I said, you have to give me something to take back, otherwise I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna 86 myself. And they revealed a date to me, and they let me read one page in the book of life, and I was able to bring that information back. Yeah, and I jumped up and I wrote it all down in my journal. And I didn't reveal it, it wasn't something I was meant to reveal to the world, but it all played out. Like that date came around and that thing happened. And it just, again, it reaffirmed my path in studying these things. Because again, like so many normal things going on in the world day to day, going to the job, fucking making dinner for the kids and this kind of thing. like you can get discouraged, you can get frustrated and feel like, fuck, there's nothing out there. And why even do it, right? Why do it? And so I have those key events that reinforced there is a reason. And if I did want to dig deeper and I had, I was in a place in my life, and I think it'll happen as I get older because I'll have more free time. The kids grow up, they go to college, whatever, they start their own families. And, sometime I'll retire from my career. But yeah, then I'll have that, a little more free time of my own to invest more and more energy into spiritual revelations. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
And yeah, and this is what we call the great work, right?
Mhm.
Chokhmat Elohim would prove to be the foundation of the Solomon legends more generally. From there, the text puts Solomon's acumen for political administration on display at length, followed by the power of his divine wisdom said to outmatch other nations, namely the Egyptians, known in antiquity for their esoteric knowledge, along with several named wise men whose nature are now obscure to us. Specifically, however, we're told of his
I think it's important to point out too. Notice that reference he made there. He said that the Egyptians were well known for their esoteric knowledge, and in fact, many of their magicians and wizards were more powerful than others. Right? Like we see the great in the story of the liberation of their people from Egypt. They said they were enslaved or whatever, and then when Moses battled off against the Egyptian wizards, that wasn't any easy feat. That was those guys knew how to do magic, and they knew how to do real magic, like the magic of antiquity, where we could see, instantaneous transformation of things, and very, very different than I think we have access to today. And again, I think, and part of it, like you said, is that our environment has changed, and we're not, like you said, some of those creatures that have those long lives, it's because they're in their natural environment, like great tortoises that live into hundreds of years. It's because they have, those pristine environments that they're suited for. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention about the turtles who live a really long time, like they do a lot of qigong. They do deep breathing, and then they can stay underwater for a long time,
Nice.
right?
Yeah,
Without
I like
breathing. Yeah, and if you watch them, man, they know what they're doing, bro.
Do you know what else I was thinking of, right? Earlier on when I mentioned the what was it? The alchemy, right? And
Right.
just imagine if alchemy is real, like magic, so to speak, right? Now, if this place that we call Earth or whatever it is, right, is really based on alchemy, right? That means maybe at certain parts in this world, you can actually create magic, so to speak, you know, out of thin air, with elements. Like literally, you
Yeah,
could get,
absolutely. Like,
like on a,
I have a limited amount of experience with it, but I've had a couple of encounters with like weather magic, like natural magic from weather.
mm,
There was one situation I'll tell you about it real quick, just because you brought up the point, so I think it's relevant.
hmm
I was taking do you know Kendo? Kendo is like a Japanese sword fighting practice.
it rings a bell. Yes, it rings a bell.
Yeah, they wear
Um,
like they wear the steel mask and the
yeah,
armor, and then
almost
so
like
I did this
fencing,
for
bit like
like
fencing,
what?
bit like
Yeah, yeah,
fence. Yeah.
just like fencing. That's right.
hmm
So I took Kendo for a long time. I did it here in China for about 10 years. I was with a
hmm
group, but I did it when I was a kid too. I did it when I was like a teenager. But I was at a Kendo class here in China in Beijing, and big group of kids like in their 20s, all very young, very active, powerful. And at that time I was probably already, this is probably mid 40s, so maybe like 10, 15 years ago, something like that. I was probably about your age, about 40. And I was with we're the only two white guys there, it was me and another guy, and everyone else is Chinese. There were some Japanese as well. But I had done some like basic qigong warm-ups in class, I'll try to land this story, not make it too long. But the Japanese master got really mad at me, and he yelled at me, and he said, "Never practice Chinese arts in a Japanese studio." And I was like, "What the fuck, man? This is China. We're in China, bro." And the Japanese, they're very strict in their studios, you know. Very different from the Chinese. The Chinese are easygoing; they don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want, right? But the Japanese, you know, he was very angry with me. I thought he was going to try to kick my ass, but later on we had like a tournament battle, and I was in a kendo match with another kid, and I did like a judo move on him, and I tripped him and took him to the ground with my kendo thing, and that breaks the rules, I know, but I was and then I whacked him in the face like 3 times with my stick or whatever, and the Japanese master got mad at me again. He's like, "I told you never use Chinese method in Japanese temple." And like that,
Yeah.
I think that was the end of my career there. I think he basically kicked me out at that point. But all the kids from the class, like 15, 20 of them, we would go to the McDonald's across from the studio every day after training. So we do like a 4-hour Saturday, right? And then like around lunchtime, we'd all head over to the McDonald's and hang out, eat a burger, eat ice cream, whatever. We're all standing out in the parking lot, and we're all talking about like stuff. And me and the other white dude, we were talking about qigong and like other forms of like spiritual power. And the young guys around us, they're like, "Fuck all that, you know, all that's horse shit, you know." And this was all happening in Chinese, right? Not in English. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't fucking believe it, you know. We don't think there's any power." And Beijing is well known for its sandstorms. And we have huge volumes of sand will blow into the city, and it totally obliterates like the air, and you can't see, and sand will get in your eyes and stuff, and it's really, really gnarly. And that day there was a sandstorm coming in, and they were saying, "Yeah, we don't believe in spirit, we don't believe in chi, this kind of thing, blah blah blah." And my friend was facing, I guess he was facing west, I was facing east, and he said, "Hey," you know, he said, "Look." And I turned around, and there was a giant wall of sand coming straight at us. It looked like a tidal wave of sand, right? And it was about, I don't know, a few hundred yards out, but it was headed straight at us, and it was obliterating the sky and the sun, and it was getting darker and stuff, you know. And so it's rolling in like a giant storm cloud of sand. And I said, "You guys don't believe in chi, huh? Check this out." And I like did the basic like summoning of my energy, and I'm swirling my hands, and I took a big deep breath in, and I looked at all of them, and I said, "Watch." And I threw all my chi energy at that sandstorm.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, man, a little, like right as I spit out my chi, a little whirlwind, like a tornado, formed in the middle of the sand wall, and it vibrated and swirled and swirled and swirled, and it sucked up every bit of sand into this little tornado, this vortex, and it sucked it up into the sky, and then boom, it evaporated, and all the sand dropped onto the ground. It bounced. And it was the most magical thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And the whole fucking sand, the whole wall of sand disappeared, man. And it turned back into a beautiful day. And everybody was aghast, astounded. And they're like, "Oh my God, did you just do that?" And I thought, "Yeah, I did." And I thought, okay, here's what happened, right? You could use a number of ways to look at it. You could say, hey, it was a coincidence, right? Hey, you know, you foresaw it, you were able to play off of it, you know, or you could say it was genuine fucking qigong magic, man. But anyway, you look at it, it happened. And I remember reading of a spiritual story that spiritual power will sometimes, like magical power like that, will actually occur at the right time in order to make an impression on a group of people. Like you're more likely to be able to perform a miracle when many people are gathered to watch. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, a really dynamic thing, man. I thought I would share that with you. It was legit hardcore. You know, I journaled about it, and the guy that the other guy I was with, he was like, "Damn, man," he's like, "You shouldn't have done that." And I'm like, why not? He's like, now everybody knows.
Good Magick.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck them. I don't care if they know. The wizard is here. Yeah, so it's good. That a couple of times something like that's happened. There's another one that has to do with lightning, but we'll save that for another day. But yeah, that was a good one. A really good
stuff.
one.
Good alchemy.
Yeah, and like you were saying, and if it is an alchemical condition, and it seems to be, then yeah, you're right. These things should be possible. And for me personally, I've had these experiences, but they only happen rarely, and it's only like in the mystical, magical moment. And yeah, it seems to be like, God will let things happen, or the alchemy works, but the timing has to be right. I think that's one aspect of the things we learn too, is the kairos, the timing.
Kairos. Oh.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about it too, you're probably going to have something happen. You're going to be like, damn, been talking to Frank Monday, and now look at all this shit that's going down.
Yeah. It's a fact. Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
Where did the Monday come into play? What's the Monday about? I like that.
Yeah, well, my real name is von Montags. So like our German name means actually Monday or moon.
Ooh, Moon. There you go. Now you're talking my language. Frank Moon.
Yeah, old Moon
Yeah.
Day.
There you
Yeah, and
go.
that's legitimately like my name, but it's an Americanization of it because it should be Francis von Montags.
Ah. You're
yeah,
full of history, man. I love it. You're full of history. You've always got something in the closet. I love it.
Yeah, just to make it more palatable for YouTube, I changed it to Frank Monday. Sounds a little more American.
Yeah, it does indeed. It's giving me Grease vibes, Dinah, slick hair, and Averex.
Yeah. That's it right there. 1950s greaser.
That's
That's
it.
me.
That's it. Good stuff, man. Good magic.
Indeed. Yeah, let's get a little more into Solomon.
Diffuse generation of proverbs and songs, along with knowledge of trees, from the cedars of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall, basically all of trees, and also how he discoursed on beasts and birds and creeping things, rendered reptiles in the Greek, and of course, fishes. The focus on various creatures at this point seems to be symbolic of his knowledge of all of nature. Elements of plants, along with the creatures of the air, sea, and those beneath the earth, or even the elements of the cosmos: air, fire, water, and earth. Indeed, his knowledge and kingship are said to be world renowned, thus making him into a kind of world king.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect of Solomon too, that he had this like power over the beasts, right? Like they talked about the mineral world, the animal world, the plant world, right? So he could control these things as well, not just the spirit world. And I think some of these things are important too for the average everyday practitioner, right? Like we need mineral sources and animal protein. I don't know, are you vegetarian or you eat meat? So yeah, I think we need some of these like animal proteins and.
I was muted. Sorry, vegan. I said vegan.
No
I
worries.
was muted. I was muted. Vegan.
Oh, are you vegan? Really? Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a tough path. Is that? Have you found that? How long have you done that? Is that hard for you to do where you live? And
it's gonna be 7 years. It's coming on to 7
wow,
years.
that's quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 7 years. And my children, they're vegetarian. I raised them vegetarian.
Okay. Do you find that it's not? I mean, is that difficult to achieve and like getting a sufficient amount of nutrients and stuff like in your diet there where you live, or do you have access to good things like?
Bit of both really. We still have access to good things, and it became more of a mindset right, than a state of
Right,
the body.
right.
Right, it became more of a mindset. I accomplished it in the mind before my body even accomplished it. Right, because it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to make a change, and not only that, I knew I had children coming into this world. So I told my missus she's got to get on the the veganism life as well, and it worked. And we got two beautiful children.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, in the Western world, I know there was some move like when I was in high school, I did a full year of vegetarian, and then I left off of it, but because I found it a lot more challenging in the Western world because so many meals were meat based. But here in
Hmm.
China, like at some like the temples and stuff, and anywhere where there's like a Buddhist affiliation, like you can get a ton of really good vegetarian food, and I
Yeah.
think it would be much easier to facilitate like in Asian countries because so much of their diet is based on vegetables like stir fried vegetables and rice,
Hmm.
and you could just eliminate the meats much easier and still have like an abundance of food.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even when I did come off the meat, I did actually try pescatarian for a while, but
Mm.
I went on a holiday, right? I went to Dominican Republic, and I looked at the menu and I was over there. I thought, all right, let me get a fish while I'm here. But when the fish came to me, right, it looked so exotic that I couldn't even do it. I said, no, I can't eat this. It's too exotic. So I said,
Oh,
just give me
funny.
mushroom chips and something else. I just had some mushroom and onions and chips, and that was it. I remember
Okay.
I stopped being a pescatarian in Dominican Republic. So that's when I became vegan.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, it's a more challenging path. I sometimes make fun of it because I've met a couple of vegetarians that like are very, um, what's the word, like proactive and apostatizing, and I actually think that a mostly vegetarian diet is better for people, and ultimately I'll shift to it. But in the Taoist tradition, they advocate that can eat meat while we're younger, but as we get older, we should in fact adopt an almost exclusively vegetarian diet. But it's one of the more I don't know. I guess it's just one of the more decadent things that people tend to indulge in. Is there like, and for you not being like overtly religious or spiritual, like, is the choice based entirely like for health reasons or why, if I might ask?
No, well, to be honest with you, right, be totally honest with you, I actually done it for the love of the animals. I didn't really know about the health benefits that, that could come with it. It's cutting out certain things out of your diet, right? You know, when people say, I love animals, but then they'll wake up in the morning and have a bacon sandwich or have a steak, whatever. That's not really love. You're fooling yourself, right? I really mean it. I love the animals, so I wouldn't want harm to come to them. I wouldn't want to eat them. I wouldn't want them in my fridge. I wouldn't want them in my cupboards.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Well, yeah, that would, to me, that would be a more spiritual aspect than it would like, you know, it's like human compassion. I mean, that's one of the things that I consider to be like the spiritual aspect of humanity. Yeah, so that seems, again, and if the fact that you don't tie it to like religion or spirituality, that's very interesting to me. That means you just have a very kind heart. Then very kind hearted.
Mm, I like that, Frank. Thank you.
Because I felt that way too, especially when I was younger. Like I remember when in my early teens, and I just found out about the process of meat production. I was like, fuck all that, man. I can't be a part of that. The way they're just, herding and slaughtering and processing animals, it just seemed so evil, at like face level.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, where do we draw the line, right? In certain countries, animals are very exclusive. They're like deities. But in other
Yeah, that's right.
countries, in other countries, we have them for Sunday dinner.
It's
Yeah,
hard
so
to fathom. That's right.
mm,
Yeah. I know the Egyptians, they held cats at a very high esteem, or
yep,
supposedly we're told,
yep.
and they're an interesting. Do you keep any? Do you have any family pets?
No, I used to have a cat not too long ago, but that's
Okay.
my first and last pet.
Yeah, I haven't had any pets in a while either. Like living here in Beijing, our apartments are typically so small, like it's not appropriate to
Mm.
keep animals.
Actually, saying that when I was younger, my first ever pet was like a terrapin. I had a terrapin that for many years.
Okay.
Yeah, turtle terrapin, and that was when I was much younger. And then that died. And then when I moved out of my mother's, got my own place. I always liked cats. So I thought, you know what, I'll get a cat, and I had a cat. No, to be honest, I got a cat because in one of my apartments I had a mouse in there. So I got the cat when it was a kitten, and then when I moved from that
Okay.
place, I took it with me. So it was with me for a few years. Then I gave it away.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and they say they kept them as spiritual familiars too. And there was a writer not long ago, maybe 100 years ago, 19th century writer named Algernon Blackwood, and he wrote a really interesting story about the spiritual aspects of cats and dogs, like how they can notice things that people can't notice, and as a result, they can make you aware of certain energies, like within your home or something that you wouldn't ordinarily pay attention to. And I currently have one pet right now. I have an axolotl. It's like a salamander that lives in water. It's like a fish,
Ooh.
like a lizard
Mm,
fish.
mm, mm,
Yes,
mm,
it's interesting the way I got it too, because I was at a new apartment at my job at I work at a high school, call it an
mm,
academy. It's like a private boarding school, but I was there and I thought, hey, I could use a little pet in here. It'd be cool, I got enough room, and I was basically there all week by myself. And so I did a ritual. I got into a ritual. I did a magic circle, like mentally and stuff, and I did my invocations. And I thought about summoning a creature, like as a familiar, right? And this little lizard appeared out of the south, because the south is representative of fire and magic. And the lizard came in and it jumped into water, right? Like in my vision, and it started swimming around. And I'm like, wow, like a swimming lizard. That's interesting. And then I was in the HR office and they suddenly had a little lizard in a fish tank. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And they told me, hey, it's an axolotl. It's like a kind of salamander. And they're like, somebody just left it here because they're on vacation or whatever. And then the person never came back. Like they didn't come back to the school. And so they gave it to me. They're like, if you want it, you can take it. And I was like, what the fuck?
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Funny story, man. It
Yeah,
just shows you
brilliant.
that, like we're talking about the alchemy of the, magic and stuff. It's the way it works, man.
Hmm. Hmm.
As soon as you
Definitely.
think of it, it appears. And we say that too. We say things like "Speak of the devil, and he doth appear." But what we really mean is, like when you summon or you think of something, it'll appear, man. You don't even need to know the how. Like with those pound coins you were finding and stuff, man. It just
Yeah,
works. It really
yeah.
does. Through the ceremonial process is what I've realized is that many of these ceremonial procedures in the magic are set up like as specific guidelines to protect you so that bad things don't happen, so that if you're trying to summon something or trying to manifest something, so that something doesn't go wrong and you don't inadvertently summon the wrong things. And that's why I think much of the magical practice was set up, because these guys were record keeping. They knew the alchemy of our realm, and they
Hmm.
could use it, and they wanted to make records of it, and then their records became our grimoires, and those grimoires became the books we have today.
Yeah. I'm quite con The
Yeah.
only reason why alchemy even exists is because of the human body itself. As they say, the three major components that is need for alchemy is found within the human body also. So as
Yeah.
within, you know, as out, so within, and all that stuff, as above, so below, all that stuff is micro to macro.
Right, right. Yeah, I didn't make that connection until recently either. The salt, sulfur, and mercury, and because of the three dantians in the body, like we oscillate these things. I would put the sulfur at the lower dantian because it
Hmm.
seems to have a more that type of effect, and then that would mean the salt would be at the center dantian, the more stabilizing factor, and that's where our salt and generative energy there. And then the mercury would be at the mind, right? The mercurial energy of the mind. It's that liquid metal, the dynamic,
Hmm.
illuminated astral light. Yeah,
Ooh.
so it starts to make more and more sense. And then you said it's in the eye as well. All three are right in the lens of the eye.
Hmm. That's where home is.
Yeah, and the more you learn, the more you can connect the dots. And there's a lot to learn, man. Fuck, it's amazing.
Yeah, most definite. Most
The
definite.
thing too is, and some people feel because there is so much to learn that this is kind of a barrier into entry. But what I advocate is that it's actually not. Like the process is much easier than you think, right? You inhale spirit and then condense it and then exhale, any kind of polluted gas off of that. And so it's just three parts, right? In, hold, out. Right. So it's that easy. It's as easy as being mindful and breathing. Everything else can be learned in time. The world presents this idea that we're in a rush to get everywhere. You got to rush through high school and get your diploma. Then you got to rush through college. You got a limited amount of time to do it. You got to get it in 4 years or you fail. But that's not the way I think the realm and God works with his children. I think we got all the fucking time in the world, man. We got all the time we need to study and digest slowly over time. And you might not even be able to figure it out in one lifetime, but if you're at where you're at now and you already are a natural magician, you've been working on it longer than one lifetime, in my opinion.
But see, hold on, Frank. But that's the thing. What if you
Go
are
ahead.
supposed? What if you are supposed to figure it out within a lifetime?
Yeah, that could be true too. Get busy then.
Get busy,
Wait,
Ted.
waste no time, right? Carpe diem.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's relevant too, and I think that's possible, and it all can play out in a single lifetime. Like even if you think about the 9 months of gestation in your mother's womb, that was a period of learning as well.
hmm
And I do like to go back and think sometimes, right? Because, like I was saying yesterday, we start off as the twinkle in our father's eye, right?
yeah.
And then he gets busy, and there's a big bang, and then we grow out of that.
hmm Because I mean, truth is truth, right? I mean, what if truth was available for everybody once upon a time, right? Once you know the truth, you figured it out. There's no denying that, right? But I think
Right.
truth has been diluted and it's been hidden away from us. So I don't think we'll figure it us ourselves now as this generation. I don't think we'll ever know the truth as a generation.
Yeah, there seems to be some sort of wicked agenda of the comptrollers to hide all of the valuable truths from us. And at the same time, not only to hide the truth, but to just fill the world with distraction and all sorts of shit that doesn't matter. And it's like, just like evidently wrong, right? And so,
Mhm.
yeah, there does seem to be some sort of spiritual battle that we're engaged in. I mean, at least in a small way, we should try to find some of that truth and present it so that
Yeah.
maybe in some small way we can help.
hmm Agree with that.
Yeah, let's get a little more into this video.
hmm
The power of his kingship would reach its zenith with the construction of the House of Yahweh in Jerusalem, though while the construction of the temple with demonic aid becomes a hugely important popular legend much later on, there's actually no such tale to be found in the Hebrew
Take it
Bible
back a second.
itself.
Take it back.
Though,
Take it
like the
back.
construction
Take it back. Rewind it a bit.
Yeah, sure.
It's a
Yeah, he
touch.
talks about the building of the temple with demonic
other
power.
nations, namely the Egyptians, known in antiquity for their esoteric knowledge, along with several named wise men whose nature are now obscure to us. Specifically, however, we're told of his profuse generation of
Yeah, and if you know that the story of the Freemason initiation comes from the story of the building of temple, right? Hiram Abiff was like the main architect, and he's murdered by the three assistants. So that's like part of the initiation rites for masonry.
proverbs and songs, along with knowledge of trees from the cedars of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall, basically all of trees, and also how he discoursed on beasts and birds and creeping things, rendered reptiles in the Greek, and of course, fishes. The focus on various creatures at this point seems to be symbolic of his knowledge of all of nature, elements of plants along with the creatures of the air, sea, and those beneath the earth. Or
I think like that's a part of the magician's path too. Like you express and show this great love for nature and animals, and I think that's an intrinsic part of the magician's nature. That to know and understand things, you must have love for them. And you're right in saying that if if you're engaged in the murder of those creatures, then how is that an expression of true love, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in the elements of the cosmos, air, fire, water, and earth. Indeed, his knowledge and kingship are said to be world renowned, thus making him into a kind of world king. The power of his kingship would reach its zenith with the construction of the House of Yahweh in Jerusalem, though while the construction of the temple with demonic aid becomes a hugely important popular legend much later on, there's actually no such tale to be found in the Hebrew Bible itself.
Yeah, that's where you wanted me to rewind a bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
The destruction. It was talking about the destruction of Jerusalem. Did it say?
Oh well, he I think he does talk about that later, but here he's talking about the original building of the temple, and he says that the legend is that Solomon used demons to build the temple, but he says according to the Hebrew Bible, that's not the way it's said. They used actual manpower. But yeah, there's a distinction there. There's a legendary idea of King Solomon as a wizard, and then he says in the Hebrew Bible, it's not exactly articulated that way. So he's drawing that distinction there.
Demons to build a temple.
That's the legend, yeah. That's where we get the Ars Goetia or the Lemegeton. It's the lesser key of Solomon the king. And it was said that he was a wizard king and he manifested demons out of hell, or demons that live here in the realm with us, and then trapped them like genies in a bottle, right? And then used their power, which I think might be some indication of like Antiquitech. Like you've heard of the Baghdad battery, right?
Yeah.
It's they found these batteries in ancient Baghdad, right?
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
And so they think that the ancient Babylonians were using electricity to electroplate like metals. And so they would like finish off metals with gold surfaces or silver surfaces or stuff like this in order to protect them. That's what they believe, but they have no archaeological evidence of it. But they do have batteries, like the ancient Babylonians. So we're talking 5,000 years ago already had battery technology. But they don't know exactly what they were using it for. But I think that there may be some indication that Solomon, by saying he was trapping spirits in brass vessels, was maybe talking about creating batteries. So they were using some sort of mechanization. That's the idea. And again, it's alchemy, right? What is a battery but alchemy?
Yeah.
And what are we using right now? Like, what are we talking over? Electronic devices. They're filled with mercurial spirits, and we're using the alchemy of electricity, right?
Well put.
Yeah. So King Solomon spoke of a dark mirror in which he could see all of the world. Is that not the laptop you have right in front of you?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Say that again, real slow.
King Solomon, he spoke of, right, again, trapping spirits in brass vessels and then using their power to power a dark mirror that he could view and communicate with anyone in the entire world.
Wow.
He had an obsidian mirror, right?
See, now through some research that I've been doing, and even Paul, Black Sheep researcher, right? The mirror is another analogy for the pupil, right? The eye, the black hole, right? The black mirror, right? Now, keeping in mind what I've always said, we are in the black hole, the pupil. What's in the pupil? The lens, right? Now, you're looking into the mirror, you're going to see the world. right? You look into the
Okay,
black hole.
you're the one that said that. Yeah, I remember someone had said that to me, and I fell into a dream, and I really dreamed that I was like floating at the center of a black hole. That's interesting. Because then the other day I woke up and I'm like, I couldn't remember who said that to me, but it was
Mm,
you. You
hmm.
said that to me. I think the first time we talked.
Okay, there's a reason why I said it, Frank.
Yeah, expand a little more on that. Do tell.
Well, it goes back to what I've been, screaming about with the eye. I think we are having a micro experience in a macro eye, or whatever that may be. But with the alchemy and
Right.
everything is found within the eye, everything, everything I look into is to do with the eyes, even down to stuff like we were talking about technology just a second ago, even the CERN machine that looks like a giant eye, right? Everything's to do with the
Hmm.
eyes.
That's interesting. There's a myth in Chinese Tao of there was an ancient king who was plagued by demons, maybe similar to the King Solomon story, but he summoned a Taoist wizard, and the wizard came in and he said the only way to like steal the demon's power and to destroy them was to tear out their eye and eat it. Isn't that interesting? And he ran all around the temple, catching the demons and pulling out the eye and then eating their eye. And
Wow.
yeah, he cleared the entire kingdom of all of the like bad guys, all the demon
Hmm.
influence. And yeah, he saved. It's a famous story, famous tale. The guy's name is Zhong Kui, and they say in Chinese, whenever someone can come in and solve a problem very quickly, they say you're the demon slaying wizard who ate the ghost or who ate the demon's eye. It's 钟馗吃我忘了怎么说，钟馗吃烧鬼. Yeah, it's so funny. So funny. So, but I mean, just a reference to the eye. Not that there's anything else in that story, but there might be some deeper allegorical meaning there.
Yep, I'm sure there is. I'm pretty sure I've heard somewhere down the line that witches used to eat the eyes as well.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm not sure
interesting.
what that is, but yeah, there's something to do with the eyes. Tell you that
Yeah, there's
much.
certain Chinese too that believe if you eat a fish eye, it can cure cancer. They say the eye
Whoa,
will go into your body and find the cancer and then destroy it.
whoa, that's
That's weird, huh?
sorry, Nemo.
Yeah. Poor Nemo is gonna lose his eye. Oh yeah, Zhonghui. If you look him up on like a regular search, it's Zhong, and then maybe I can show this to you. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, they got some good pictures of him. I'll just show them to you real quick. See, I gotta load up my screen. Might take a second.
There
First, I
you
gotta
go.
remove that. I gotta figure out how to do this. Share screen.
Look, it's my
Hey, we have
store.
yeah. It's our favorite leader of Team Evil. It's the fake one or the real one?
That's the Timu version, unfortunately. No,
Yeah, the Team
fortunately,
Evil.
actually, fortunately. Yeah. So excuse me, that fortunately, yeah.
That's the Timo version of Big Sister, huh?
Big sister.
How funny. Yeah, check it out. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's right here. This is Zhonghui. This is how they portray him in like Beijing theater, Peking theater.
Hmm. I've
That's
seen that
that's
mask
what he
before.
looks
Yeah,
like.
I've seen that
Yeah.
mask before. Yeah.
And then this one looks like an AI version of him. But
Hmm.
the older like Tang Dynasty style paintings, he will look like this. Yeah, so you see him staring in the mirror,
Hmm.
right? And
Come
he's
on.
looking at the eye,
It's the
right?
lens. It's the lens. He's looking back. It's the lens.
Yeah, he's
Hmm.
looking in the lens. And the way I always imagine him is this way. This is the way he's painted most of the time. Zhonghui, the demon hunter. And he's always got wild eyes.
Yeah.
That's one of the that's one of the focuses because he eats the demon's eyes.
Oh, gosh, you.
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
That's right. He's got these wild eyes. Yeah, that's a good one of him right there. Yeah, now he's got the demon by the neck and he's about to pull out its eye. Yeah, that one's perfect. I've got a painting like this, a full size, like 6 foot long scroll that I had commissioned when I first moved here because I was very interested in Chinese mythology and all of these old tales because I thought there was some truth in them. Like I thought, hey man, we probably did have real experiences like this back in the ancient past. That's why they wrote about them, and that's why they transmitted these stories into today.
Hmm. Frank Monday, the Japanese agent.
Yeah, you say I'm working for the Chinese. No, I'm a born and bred Americano.
That's funny.
But yeah, I've done my homework on the Chinese for sure.
Oh man.
What's he say here? He's got Frank Monday by the. Oh, you saying that look like Frank Monday, huh? No, that Zhong Kui, that's Frank Monday, man. What you talking about? I'm the demon hunter. I'm gonna get you, you little motherfucker. Grab you by the scruff of the neck. Pop out your eye.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny, huh? It takes all kinds. You never know who's gonna show up
Indeed.
in the old chat room.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I agree
Like
with
the
that.
construction of the house of Yahweh, almost every other element of Solomon's life and rule have just become grist for the mill of legends upon legends. I mean, there's just a cottage industry in history of Solomon fanfic. From the trying questions of the Queen of Sheba to Solomon's partnership with Hiram for the King of Tyre to his magnificent tiered throne, Solomon has, more than any other Israelite king, truly become the subject of massive amounts of wonderful legend and lore.
Yeah, it's funny here. He's saying the demons always threaten violence. No, I'm just being playful. You know better than that. Don't be silly. And I only threaten violence upon demons and miscreants and people who are my enemy, right? Don't come in here causing trouble. I'll seal you in, all right, in a brass vessel. Yeah. Yeah, so the legends bound about old King
But
Solomon.
just as Solomon's reign began with a dream vision of Yahweh, it would, in a significant sense, come to an end with just such a vision. With the construction of the house of Yahweh completed, Solomon would again meet his God in a dream vision. And here the Deuteronomist editor has clearly inserted their very own covenantal theology. Thus, Solomon's wealth and power mean basically nothing, given that his foreign wives and concubines have led him to worship foreign gods other than Yahweh, and thus his downfall and the division of the Israelite monarchy ought to be laid at the feet of his own apostasy and idolatry. The
Yeah, that's another interesting aspect that later in life King Solomon fell from grace, and it says that was because he began to worship the foreign gods of his concubines and stuff. So I think that's I don't know. It's an important aspect of biblical theology, obviously, right? That they want this undivided attention to their one God.
Mm-hmm. Was that like? Would you say that's when the worship of man started to come into play?
It seems to be, that's when it seems to be like a fall from like a real adoration of divinity as opposed to like this patriarchal descent of a monarchy, right? And hereditary succession, like my son becomes king just because he's my son. Whereas in the ancient world, we seem to have, like sage philosophers and, like wizard kings who rose to power not because of hereditary, but because of their great virtue and what they did for the people.
Yeah. And that's how it should be.
And they should be held accountable even into today, right? Like we see all of these leaders who are doing like things that are completely antithetical to the well-being of their people, and yet they're allowed to hold on to power just because they have power. And I don't think that's going to spell any kind of better future for the the average everyday ordinary individual who's out there making the world happen. So yeah, I don't know though. I don't have any easy solutions for any of those problems. As opposed to Jack Talcott, he has all of the solutions. So if you guys want solutions, make sure you tune in to Chats with Jack. Love and Jesus and living without fear are enough to get it done. Whereas I'm a little more pragmatic. I think you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard, and try to be the best you can for your family and whatever, your community.
That's it.
Oh. Or you could just be a freeloading internet beggar with high ideals, and a lofty vision, and that could be enough. You were here for the that's right. You were here for the Is Jack Talcott the Antichrist show, right?
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah. That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I had fun with that one. Mm-hmm. It's like that's the most views I've ever gotten on a live stream. I think it got up to like 150 views in the first couple of hours. That's kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jack brings the numbers.
Yeah, he does. He seems to. Yeah, the person in chat here has reminded me to remind you guys at the third hour, to check me out on buymeacoffee.com. Pull something in the tip jar that put the pep in my step, the jelly in my donut, and the lead in my pencil. I certainly do appreciate that. Make sure you hit the old like button for the algobots. Keep them barking like Pavlov's dog. Mm-hmm. And do all that happy horse shit. That'll keep them barking.
That's it. Glorious.
Keep the shekels coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. No, I've noticed that YouTube is not really a platform for making money, and some of these guys, man, this is their full-time job, and they're making less than minimum wage. Like you think about Slow State and Paulie and some of the other guys, they're working it full-time, like 10, 12 hours a day is what they're going. And I can only imagine, like, if you think about the amount of hours that they're putting in for the return that they're getting, it's like an Uber driver, or Uber Eats or whatever,
Yeah. Yes.
Which is no small thing. I drove taxi for like 8 months back in 2019.
Yeah,
and it's hard.
Thing. It's not really my thing, but if anyone's gonna grift, I like when Flo does it because he don't hide about it, right? That's one thing.
Right.
He doesn't hide about it. He doesn't beat around the corner. He tells you what it is, what he wants, and he puts on a show. That's one thing I give him credit for. But the halfway in between grifting, that's the ones I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, Flow State is easily the best minimum wage YouTube grifter that I know. He's got his game together. Yeah, he don't give up, man. He's in it 8 to 12 hours a day, man. I don't even see when he's got time for his family. I'm usually not on the internet this much. I'm on vacation right now. That's why I'm able to stream so much. But yeah, normally I work a full-time job. I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week at the academy. And I know you said you work as well, right? Like you had just got home from work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not too long ago, got back from work, had some dinner, cleaned up, and just chilling now, man.
Yeah. At some point when I retire, though, I could see doing the YouTube grift. It could be a thing, It's, it doesn't take much setup, right? You got a laptop, you got a microphone, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to set it up like Flow. You got to have some shit loaded up and ready to go, cover all your P's and Q's and make it an interesting show. Otherwise, you're just jerking off on the internet.
I was actually thinking of even putting some material behind a paywall soon, to be honest, actually.
Yeah,
So
that's not a bad
my
idea.
content, yeah.
Yeah, the last video I showed, Angela Puka, she does a lot of that. In fact, most of her streaming is done behind the paywall. She does it over Patreon. I don't know how that works. I haven't done a Patreon.
I haven't either.
So you might look into it. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that you can unlist videos, so you could do lives where you just like send out the link. And if people are members, then you could just send the link to the members. And I know Flo does that too. Like everything, once he's done the trends, like once he's done his live stream, he unlists it and just makes it available to Patreon to members.
Yeah, I don't think I'll do that member stuff. I don't know. That's I don't know about that stuff.
Yeah, you could have some premium content that you do. You just maybe if people sub or give you a donation, then you could send them the link. I think that's one way.
That's monetized though, isn't it? I gotta get monetized and all that stuff. I don't really want to be monetized.
Well, like with me, I don't know. Do you use Buy Me a Coffee?
No.
Like you can set up if you've got a YouTube, you've got a Google or whatever. You can set up a Buy Me a Coffee account for free, and it's real easy to do. And then you can you can give that link to people who watch, and if they go over there, they can make a little donation. And Buy Me a Coffee will give you almost all of what they donate to you, like much more than any other platform, more than YouTube. YouTube, I think, only gives you about 60% of it. And for like your ad revenue and memberships, they give you less, like 40%.
Got you. No,
But
I do have the PayPal. I've got the PayPal. Like,
okay,
don't get
PayPal.
me wrong. I do get donations. People do donate to me via PayPal, whatever the case may be. But I don't
Okay.
advertise it. I don't ask for it. They just send it to me. I'm grateful for that because there's
Yeah,
people that appreciate my work, so they just send me donations. I don't even have a donation out there. They just, I
I
think there was
gotcha.
good
I
looks.
gotcha.
There was times when I needed a new chair, right? And I got the community together. I said, look, if you lot want me out here going live every single day or when I can go live, I need a new chair. Look, let's get London a new chair. So everybody chipped in to get me a new chair. And then my back's been
Yeah, it's a
much
good
better.
idea. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good idea to do drives and stuff like that too, right? Like if you have a specific thing, then call out for that. I think we should take a page out of Flow State's book though, and not worry about like this so-called fucking dignity and shit like that. Like we are actually doing work, right? Like we've been sitting here having a conversation for 3 hours. That's not something we can do for free. We got to eat, we got to pay for the power. And so asking for a donation, like, we could be more like Flow State and just grift it. Be like, hey man, go over there to buymeacoffee.com/Frank Monday, pull something in the tip jar. That'll put the jelly in my donut. I appreciate that. Y'all good looking sexy people out there in Happy Land. Y'all good looking sexy people. I love you. Yeah. So I'm with you on that page that, just be like Flo. When it comes to grifting, just be like Flo.
Yeah.
Fuck it, fuck it. Because most people aren't gonna pay no attention to that shit anyway. They ain't got no time for that. I'm an internet tourist. I ain't gonna go give you no tip, baby. What you talk? But there are certain people who really do appreciate what you're doing and will do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I donate
'Cause
to Flow from time to time. I have donated
have you?
even
Okay.
recently, yeah. But that's because it's set up quite easy. But for me to even go on another platform to do it, I don't really know how to do it. Like people do it via what's the other one called?
Kofi,
No, there's the other one that you lot use over there. Super Chat, not
Cash
Super Chat.
App.
Cash App. There you go.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
have
so
that
the
over
main
there.
ones, I think, they're like PayPal, Patreon, Kofi, Cash App, and some people use Buy Me a Coffee though. There's actually quite a large community. I got 20 supporters on Buy Me a Coffee right now, and some of them are recurring. Like they set it up so they're giving me like $5 a month or something. It's kind of a big deal, And like over time, I didn't think it was going to amount to much either. But I put a lot of essays into it. I put some behind the scenes pictures. I put some of like the course syllabuses I do. I've made a few PDFs that I actually sell on there, like premium content. And so it's something else, it's another thing you have to set up. Like you said, that's always kind of a pain in the ass. But once you do set it up, you can put like your bank account information, like get a direct deposit, and they take very little. I think they take something like maybe 10% of the donation. So if someone tips you a $5, they take like 50 cents.
But you know
So
what
it's
as well,
pretty good.
Frank? That's
Yeah.
that's another thing with me though, right? As much as I'm on the internet and things, I'm trying to like stay under the radar. I don't really want to make too much accounts or have to give too much information out there, you know,
Right. I got you. I got you.
just to exchange money, you know what I'm saying? I've got to put information
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
to get money. Like it don't sit right with me sometimes in this day and age.
Yeah. I'm the same with you on that. And it's interesting too. Like some of us more old school guys, like we have less of a digital footprint than some of the kids these days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's always that way. It's like always the next app you need to open or the next website you need to use, and they're always trying to just gather more and more across all kinds of platforms. That's why like I opened a Patreon, but I never even used it, like never got any action on it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Like it's better to maintain a smaller digital footprint if you can, you know.
If you can, facts.
Chronicler, for what it's worth, is much more interested in Davidic propaganda.
I like this gal he's squeezing on here. She's got some plump breasts.
Focusing much more on Solomon the builder than his purported wisdom, and even attributing some of that building to David in a sense. Though the whitewashing campaign of the chronicler applies as much as it does to Solomon as to David, whose less savory elements, you know, that time he got that guy killed, those are all conspicuously absent in the chronicler. Hence, we can perhaps detect at least 3 editorial layers of the early Solomonic myth history. Perhaps an early semi-historical layer of Solomon as a wise ancient Near East ruler, very similar, by the way, to other royal accounts of the time, the theological interpretation of the Deuteronomist into the narrative, and finally the revision of all of it by the chronicler. There are 5 other texts that are also associated with Solomon in the Hebrew Bible. There are 2 Psalms, Psalm 72 and Psalm 127, along with the book of Mishlei, Proverbs, Shir Shirim, the Song of Songs, and Kohelet, or Ecclesiastes. Though while these texts are absolutely fascinating, I mean, my favorite book of all time, full stop, is Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, none of these texts really do much to add to the specifically esoteric dimensions of Solomon's legend, aside from generally showcasing his wisdom. Though Song of Songs would of course become a kind of mystical allegory in both Jewish and Christian traditions. So in that way, Solomon has, at least via his name or the attribution, and very much given over something to the mystical tradition. Indeed, it's highly unlikely that the historical Solomon could have actually even composed Song of Songs or Kohelet. They were composed hundreds of years after his purported rule, and Proverbs is more of a collection of Israelite and sometimes even Egyptian sayings, though I will say that Psalm 72 does have some Solomonic themes when compared to the Book of Kings.
Now, that's an interesting aspect of biblical study that I have looked into a little bit, because many of the sayings in Proverbs are mirrored in Chinese mythology as well. And so I found some correlation, and I went through and I documented all of the Proverbs. I did this probably in the early time when I first came to China. So we're talking like 03, 04, like when I was at university. I was at the university here from 01 to 05. And so during that period, I did that. And I found that a lot of the Proverbs have a direct correlation to Chinese maxims and allegories. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that might have been the origin of some of it. Obviously not all of it, but it seems like because of the Silk Road that there was a transmission of knowledge from the Far East into, you know, what is today's modern Europe. And obviously that holds up historically too, because the Chinese were kind of all over the place. I mean, there was Chinatowns everywhere, you know, and even into, you know, there still are.
Yeah.
And some of them are quite old. Like in San Francisco, we got a 200-year-old Chinatown, you know, it's been there forever.
Yeah, we got one over here also.
Yeah, I would imagine London probably has a pretty big one. very substantial. Oh, and I
Mm.
meant to mention, I think I mentioned it in the private chat, or was that the last time we talked? Or no, maybe I put it in the public chat. There's a bookstore downtown in London, right next to the London Museum, and it's called the Atlantean Bookstore. And this is where, like,
Atlantean
kind of,
bookstore.
yeah, this is where I put it up on the screen right now. This is where
Mhm.
all of these guys were gathering from the Golden Dawn. Like, this bookstore has a basement, and in the basement there's a ritual room that they used for initiation in the Golden Dawn. And so, like, all these guys I'm talking about, like Israel Regardie, McGregor Mathers, Aleister Crowley, they were all there, man. They all visited that bookstore and used to meet there and have meetings.
Mm. Atlantean
And it's,
bookstore.
yeah, and it's still open today. You can go by and visit. And the woman who's in there is like the granddaughter of the original owner of the shop. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I had the
sounds
chance to
good.
talk. Yeah, I talked to her for about 30 minutes last time. I was in London in 2022.
Oh, 2022. Okay.
Yeah, I brought my son. I rolled through town. It might have been 2021 or 2022. I think it's 2022. So not so
What,
long ago, just a few years
you
ago.
brought your son to London, did you say?
Yeah, he wanted to see the colleges. He wanted to like check out the College of London and Oxford and the other one. What's the big one? Cambridge. And then we went.
Good.
Yeah, so we spent 5 days in London, and then we went over to Ireland and spent, I think, 4 days in Dublin to visit Trinity College and the other colleges, because he's thinking about what college he wants to go to when he graduates high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
he really liked London. Out of all the cities I took him to visit, I took him to
Okay.
L.A. Yeah, in one summer we spent 6 weeks. I took him to L.A. I took him to Denver. I took him to New
Yeah.
York. I took him to
Yeah.
Boston, Ireland, Dublin, London. He said that he loved London the best. He's like, Dad, I fucking love London. He's like, I want to move to London for college.
I want to move to London.
Yeah, he just liked it, man. He liked the vibe of the city. He just really, really liked it.
Hmm. That's
So
good.
that's kind of funny, huh? Yeah, 14-year-old boy. What does he know, right?
Exactly. I mean, I used to love London, but I want to move out of London now, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tougher and tougher to live in the major cities, huh? Why?
Mm.
Why do you say that? Tell me what's going on.
I don't know. I just feel like my mindset is different now. I want to be out more with the countryside living, like more out in the wilderness. I feel more better because it's just something about the connection, man. It just feels better being out there. Like
Yeah, I
being.
agree with you.
Mm.
Absolutely. I knew the Taoist master I knew when I was younger in my 20s. He said that the ideal situation is if we could live like 3 to 4 months in an urban setting, and then the rest of the time, 6 to 8 months in the countryside. It's just much better for your nervous system, your overall general health, and all of that. I totally agree with that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So ideally, if you could spend most of your time in a rural setting, and then when you want to, when you feel like it, go into the city and hang out and live, because sometimes you do need to be in the city, in the hustle bustle, get around some people and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, especially like as you get a little older, I agree with that, man. Like I said, I'm 54. I'll be 54 this year, and I would definitely like to chill and just be in a country setting,
Yeah.
or even nearer to wilderness.
Hmm. That's it. Hey, what's I gonna say?
Yeah.
I'm looking to jump off in a bit, but I was gonna say, do you want me to show you that bit that I put together, or
Yeah. If you can load it up, or how would you do that?
when you end the stream, I suppose. How long you looking to stay on for?
Okay. I could wrap this one up, man. Let me see how much this video's got left on it. I think, yeah, well, I don't have to go through the whole video. It's only like a third of the way. Yeah, I could finish it up on another stream, man. I could wrap this one up. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to
cool.
hang out for a minute, I'll sign off.
Yeah,
And
brilliant. I'll show you some stuff.
Yeah. Let me do my little into the real spiel and say
Yes,
hello
sir.
to everyone. And then if you chill, I'll be back with you in like a minute.
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. All right, guys. Yeah, we've done quite a thing here today. 3.5 hours. We had KJV sitting shotgun here with us, which was good magic, and I can appreciate that. So thank you for that. Good to see. Oh, and sorry, I took you off stage too fast, man. Did you anything you wanted to say to the people as we sign off for today's show?
Thanks for tuning in to Frank Monday. It's been a pleasure. Hope we can do this dance again, sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely good magic. And guys, make sure you get over there and check out London himself, London McLovin. We've got the let me pull up the link again. Yeah, right here. Yeah, so check him out here on YouTube. And you said you got a backup channel, so just check the about section of his channel when you go over there, and you can sub to both his main channel and his backup channel, London_man here on YouTube. Yeah, we'll do it again soon. Good magic, man. I appreciate you.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah, much love to KJV. And we're going to have him backstage, and then we'll give you guys the old spiel here. Your Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, Frank Monday, coming at you once again like Finnegan. So if you've got a yen to expand your ken, let's get zen here from behind the bamboo firewall in the central kingdom of the Celestial Dragon. Frank Monday coming at you guys. Check me out on buymeacoffee.com. Put a little something in the tip jar. I certainly appreciate that. That'll put the lead in my pencil, amigos. And hit the like button, guys. Leave a comment on the video. If you like magic or you practice magic, I'd like to know more about it. I am going to do the full invocation of total integration to sign off this one because it's kind of been a big show, guys. So here, with no further ado, heaven and earth are the spontaneous manifestations of the subtle, wondrous universal law. As the original oneness expresses itself, gross and subtle energies become distinctly divided. Our bodily caves are brightly illuminated by the mysterious light from the three sources, our three Dantian bridge points leading to immortality. The powerful spirits of the 8 directions can join our being with the true origin of life. By the absolute order of the divine Ling Bao in the highest ninth heaven, send the positive energies of Qianluo, Dana, Dunkan, and Taishuan to destroy our spiritual obstacles and debilitate any evil influence. This order is given by the highest sovereignty. It is a jade oracle from the subtle origin. I invoke with strong sincerity to drive away the demons and evils and lengthen my healthy years. The attained spirits respond. The evil demon king, Mo Wang, is chained to stand as my guard and servant. The powerful atmosphere has been generated, dispersing all negativity. The chi of Tao is everlasting. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. Yeah, good magic, everyone. Keep doing good magic. Remember, O neophyte, goodness alone is power. Silence is strength. Will regaineth omnipotence, and love lieth at the foundation, because love is the law, love under will, and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the abodes of the future at Astra per Aspera, and keep doing good magic.